Han Fei laughed. No wonder. Otherwise, with so many strong masters here, if they appeared at the same time, who could beat them? Han Fei immediately lost interest in the opening in the Sea of Stars. At least, he didn't have to worry about any big accidents here now. However, he didn't want to leave immediately, because he was also curious. Who had set up such a mysterious barrier here that even he didn't notice at all? Han Jun probably didn't know at all back then. Immediately, the law of time surged in Han Fei's eyes, and he began to trace back in time. In Han Fei's eyes, the barrier of time was penetrated. In the blink of an eye, thousands of years passed like a gust of wind. Finally, when Han Fei traced back to 6 eras ago, he saw the ominous mist emitting from here. Continuing to trace forward, Han Fei saw the brilliant river of stars flowing wantonly here. In the blink of an eye, he saw Han Jun arrive here. However, he knew all of this. After another 3 eras, the picture in Han Fei's eyes finally froze. This was because everything in front of him had turned into darkness. There was no star river here, no sky full of stars, only infinite darkness. Is this what it looked like before the primordial star sea was established? Han Fei was slightly stunned. This should be very similar to when the chaotic star sea first opened. Although Han Fei had never experienced it, it was not difficult to guess. Suddenly, the blurry figure of a three-eyed woman was bathed in rays of light and enveloped by a golden body. She seemed to step out of the endless void and appear in this darkness. Han Fei tried his best to see the woman's appearance, but the law of time didn't seem to be able to reflect this person. He could only see a blurry figure in front of his eyes. Han Fei could vaguely see that the woman's short hair reached her shoulders, and the battle suit on her body was dilapidated but shining. She sat cross-legged in this darkness, and purple qi and blood suddenly erupted from her body, turning into a ripple that seemed to instantly ignite this darkness. The qi and blood ripple kept spreading, quickly and crazily. And there was more than one surging blood qi. 9 blood qi ripples spewed out of the woman's body, spreading infinitely far away before she stopped. Han Fei couldn't help but be shocked. It was this qi and blood that opened the world. Besides, unlike Han Jun transforming into the heavens, this woman was a real sky opener. She only opened the sky with the 9 qi and blood in her body. Although the price might not be small, it was better than Han Jun turning into the chaotic star sea himself, right? And this also meant that this woman's strength had definitely exceeded the Dominator level, reaching an unknown level above the Dominator level. After releasing 9 pieces of qi and blood in a row, 3 strange objects appeared between the woman's eyebrows in a row. Yes, there were a total of 3, and 2 of them were the demon purification pot and the creation jade plate. As for the third strange object, it was a mirror. In the mirror, divine light bloomed, and then mysterious runes spread out, covering almost a swath of star rivers in a moment. Crack. Of course, Han Fei didn't hear anything, but he saw that after the mirror spewed out the runes, it suddenly shattered and turned into billions of mirror fragments, scattering in the range of this swath of star rivers. It wasn't until the mirror fragments completely melted in this void that the woman left the demon purification pot and the creation jade plate behind. After doing all this, the woman didn't seem to be in a good state, but she still slowly got up and then, suddenly turned her head, her eyes seeming to penetrate the endless void as if she had discovered Han Fei, who was prying. Han Fei's eyelids twitched, and he felt that he had been seen through And the woman did seem to be looking at Han Fei. When Han Fei was wondering if he should stop looking back in time, the woman nodded slightly at Han Fei and then spoke. Han Fei was shocked. This woman could see him too? How strong was this woman? The woman seemed to be stunned for a moment too. As if realizing something. Her expression strangely turned slightly ugly. The third eye between her eyebrows that symbolized the path of invincibility shone brightly. Then, the woman continued to speak. This time, before he could hear anything, Han Fei saw a certain twisted power in the time river, which seemed to be blocking the transmission of this sound. Han Fei tried his best to maintain the operation of the law of time. There were even blood tears flowing in his eyes, but it didn't matter. And a vague voice seemed to appear in his ears, but it was incomplete. Don't give up. There's no path. We wait for you at the end of the sea. The woman's voice vaguely came from the time river. Wherever the voice passed, the time river became unstable and even showed signs of collapse. Don't what? Give up what? Han Fei could roughly feel that this sentence was definitely not don't give up. There seemed to be a whole sentence in the middle that was hidden. What path? The end of the sea? Sister, tell me again. This voice was very weak and distorted, even harder to distinguish than the ravings. Han Fei listened hard and wanted to read the woman's lips, but the more he wanted to see, the more blurred the time became. And the woman on the other side of the time river seemed to have discovered that the time river was collapsing. Thinking that Han Fei might not be able to hear her at all, she stopped talking and raised her hand to draw 4 Tao patterns in the void. Bang! The moment these 4 Tao patterns appeared, the time river here collapsed. Han Fei's eyes were full of blood and tears as if he were blind. However, this injury was obviously not a problem for Han Fei. The blood tears flowed back and recovered in the blink of an eye. Can't you just write? Han Fei was speechless. He immediately wanted to trace back in time, but when he opened the time river again, he discovered that the parts of the time river about this place were already chaotic. Yes, the law of time at the opening in the Sea of Stars had completely turned into turbulence. Damn it! Han Fei's face changed slightly. He immediately copied and simulated the 4 Tao patterns in his heart. Among them, the first Tao pattern was the simplest, and it was cracked by Han Fei in an instant, because this Tao pattern seemed to correspond to the realm of a monarch. As long as one was strong enough, it wasn't difficult to crack it. Even if one wasn't strong enough, it was possible to crack it slowly. Han Fei was no longer a monarch, so he could easily crack it. After cracking it, he learned that it meant monarch, no name. It only took Han Fei 10 seconds to crack the second sentence, which meant God, no contribution. The third sentence was not difficult. Han Fei spent 100 seconds cracking it too, which meant supreme, no heavens. Han Fei's heart trembled, because he discovered that the third Tao pattern corresponded to the supreme realm. In other words, if he wanted to comprehend this line, it meant that theoretically, he needed to reach the strength of a supreme and comprehend the supreme heart. Or, as long as he understood this Tao pattern, he could comprehend the supreme path. Therefore, the first 3 sentences that Han Fei had decoded corresponded to the 3 levels of monarch, God, and supreme. This meant that the next sentence was very likely to correspond to the realm above the dominator. However, when he tried to disassemble this Tao pattern and comprehend the true meaning of them, he couldn't feel anything. It was as if the fourth Tao pattern was empty and didn't say anything. Impossible. Han Fei knew that it was impossible for the woman not to see through his strength. To be able to trace back to this era, she was at least at the level of a sea-quelling god. Therefore, the latter two of the four Tao patterns left by the woman were obviously for Han Fei to see. Monarch, no name, God, no contribution, supreme, no heavens. With Han Fei's current understanding, it was actually not difficult to understand. To explain it, if a monarch wanted to enter the god realm, he shouldn't be in the mood to make a name, which meant that he could put down what he was sticking to and enter the god realm. God, no contribution clearly meant that the gods didn't do anything intentionally, nor did they have any intention of seeking merit in the world. A god was a god, pure and powerful, not fighting for anyone or cultivating for anyone. Therefore, this purity should mean holding on to one's original heart and firming one's Tao. Supreme, no heavens clearly meant that there was no heavens or earth in the eyes of a supreme. Walking the supreme path was lawless, unrestrained, and uncontrollable. These three sentences corresponded to the three realms of cultivation: monarch, God, and supreme. Then the fourth sentence could only refer to the breakthroughs and cultivation methods above the dominator realm. Unfortunately, Han Fei stood still for a day, but still couldn't crack the true meaning of this Tao pattern. Han Fei couldn't help but feel a little regretful. She could write, but she drew 4 Tao patterns for him to crack. Han Fei sighed in his heart, although he was really curious about the fourth sentence. He was also curious about who the woman was and why she carried the demon purification pot, the creation jade plate, and the mirror that had probably been destroyed. Unfortunately, he had no chance to ask her now. However, Han Fei wasn't discouraged. Although he couldn't crack the fourth line of the Tao patterns yet, it didn't mean that he couldn't in the future. After all, this was only condensed from Tao patterns. As long as he cracked this Tao pattern, it was only a matter of time before he deciphered it. At this moment, Han Fei looked at the opening in the sea of stars again. The ominous level creature and a large group of dominator level ominous creatures were still staring at him. Han Fei sneered and the vast ocean navigator appeared in his hand. As he issued an order in his heart, he seemed to be asking something. After a few seconds, the vast ocean navigator finally turned. Golden light flashed in Han Fei's eyes, and a smile appeared on his lips. Although there were some out of his expectations, his guess was generally correct. Some of the 12 well-shaped passages led straight to the chaotic star sea, and some led to other areas of the primordial star sea. Han Fei was about to turn around and leave when the ominous level creature suddenly spoke. Human Emperor. Han Fei suddenly looked at the man sharply. Can you speak? For a moment, Han Fei had a bad feeling. This ominous creature was different from the ominous body of the primordial Tao ancestor he had seen. This one was formed by ominous matter right under his nose. Although Hong Jun and he both guessed that the ominous matter was active and conscious, when he really saw that the ominous matter had consciousness, he couldn't help but still feel surprised. The ominous creature slowly said, "This barrier is not unbreakable. Otherwise, the ominous wouldn't have spread throughout the sea of stars. Even if you destroy these passages, it's useless. You should be able to guess that in addition to these passages, the ominous has other ways to enter the chaotic star sea." Han Fei sneered. No matter what you have, there are always restrictions. Otherwise, Why would you have to fight for several eras? As for these passages, I'm going to destroy them. Come out and bite me if you have the ability. The ominous creature said in a low voice, I'll give you two choices. Han Fei was about to sneer, when something suddenly cracked in the depths of the sea of stars. Then, Han Fei's face gradually turned dark. In the opening of the sea of stars, two boundless cracks slowly appeared, like two huge eyes that contained a river of stars. It was weird and creepy. Just by looking at the two huge eyes, Han Fei felt that his blood was not flowing smoothly, and his heart was blocked. At that moment, Han Fei seemed to be caught in some kind of illusion. He saw war, billions of stars were collapsing, all creatures were dying, and the sea of stars was collapsing. It was as if there was an invincible power gradually swallowing the sea of stars. And he seemed to be caught in endless battles, fighting desperately in the darkness, unable to see the end of the war. Divine path? Han Fei had seen such a scene before. He had vaguely seen it when he saw his divine path in the past. War and killing were the main theme of this divine path. However, when he saw it again today, it became different. In the endless war, he seemed to feel tired. He seemed to understand in a daze that he was walking on this divine path, and this path had no end. This was what the ominous wanted to tell him. It seemed to be telling him that no matter how he fought, in the end, he would be the only one left on this path, fighting alone in the darkness, and everything would collapse. The ominous said again, no one can stop me, but if you are willing to hand over the primordial star sea, I can promise you that I won't attack the chaotic star sea for a great era. Heh. Han Fei sneered, but he didn't refute immediately. Instead, he continued to look at the depths of the crack in the sea of stars. After a long time, he suddenly said, if you are willing to tell me what you are, I can consider it. The ominous replied without any emotion, I am the home, I am the end, and I am the beginning. I am the end of the Tao. Han Fei was a little irritable. What bullsh***? Tell me clearly what you are. The ominous was still calm. You can't understand. If I pay a certain price, I can still descend into the chaotic star sea. Han Fei sneered. Then please pay the price. I'm not Jiang Taichu. I won't reach any agreement with the ominous. Since you want to fight, let's fight. Seeing that Han Fei was about to leave again, the ominous couldn't help but laugh dryly. In the next moment, he said, Human Emperor, you are the second person to come here after Han Jun. You are also the first person who can force me to pay the price. Do you want to know how I descended into the chaotic star sea? Han Fei wanted to leave for the second time, but he was stopped by this thing. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't curious. At this moment, the Dominator-level ominous wrapped in 1,203 big cocoons began to move. Bang! Suddenly, one of the big cocoons exploded, and even the Dominator-level ominous creature inside was annihilated, turning into an ominous matter that surged into the sky and began to circle. Then, big cocoons exploded one after another, and the Dominator-level ominous inside was all annihilated. Han Fei's pupils were constricted. Are you crazy? The ominous slowly said, if you want to descend, you have to pay a price. Otherwise, I would have taken down the chaotic star sea long ago, right? They're merely Dominator-level ominous. They were born just for my descent. Immediately, Han Fei's face changed drastically. The annihilated ominous creatures turned into ominous matter, corroded the sky, pierced through the endless void, and finally formed a mysterious array. Even this invisible barrier couldn't resist them. This was indeed the destruction of the Dominator-level ominous. Han Fei had thought that if he could kill one more, the threat of picking up the chaotic Star Sea would be reduced. But now it seemed that his pitiful kill number didn't seem to be meaningful at all. The ominous level didn't care about the death of the Dominator-level ominous at all. These more than 1,000 Dominator-level ominous creatures sucked by the big cocoons and straws were just as tools to descend into the chaotic Star Sea. The ominous-level creature looked at Han Fei with a weird smile. Why don't we compete and see who will reach the chaotic Star Sea first? At this moment, Han Fei seemed to understand why the ominous wouldn't descend on the chaotic Star Sea until several great eras later. It was because he needed to accumulate Dominator-level ominous as his nutrients to pave the way for himself. However, he was still a little puzzled. Why could the ominous body of the primordial Tao ancestor return? It seemed that he didn't have to pay such a price at all. This question instantly appeared in Han Fei's mind. They were all above the Dominator level. The ominous body of the primordial Tao ancestor seemed to be able to easily enter the chaotic Star Sea. After all, in the past 8,600 years, that guy seemed to have returned twice. Could it be that the one who returned wasn't the real primordial Tao ancestor's ominous body? But something was still wrong. The real ominous needed to pay such a huge price to enter the chaotic Star Sea. How could the primordial Tao ancestor's ominous body enter the chaotic Star Sea not long after he met him? If he had a way, why didn't he go to the chaotic Star Sea earlier? After all, when eldest senior brother stalled the ominous, he had full time to take action. Furthermore, senior sister Shenlu and the others at that time shouldn't be a match for him at all. In fact, if the primordial Tao ancestor's ominous body attacked together with this ominous creature formed by the ominous matter, even eldest senior brother probably wouldn't be able to resist it, right? Why didn't they attack together? Suddenly, Han Fei had a bold guess. The intentions of the ominous body of the primordial Tao ancestor and the real ominous are not aligned. Han Fei's guess was not unfounded. The most important thing was that the difficulty of entering the chaotic Star Sea was too great. The real ominous in front of him needed to sacrifice 1,203 Dominator level ominous to pave the way for him, and this shouldn't be the first time he had done this. However, the ominous body of the primordial Tao ancestor seemed to only need to sacrifice a peak-level Dominator-level ominous to build a passage between the two worlds. This was beyond doubt. After all, Han Fei was dragged into the primordial Star Sea like this. They were both ominous-level powerhouses. Why was it so difficult for the one in front of him to descend into the chaotic Star Sea? But why did the ominous body of the primordial Tao ancestor descend so easily? More importantly, as long as the primordial Tao ancestor wanted, he had almost countless chances to descend, but he didn't do so. Why did he have to wait until now? Not only had he descended into the chaotic Star Sea, but he had also conquered the first battlefield? He instinctively felt that the water was too deep, and there seemed to be a layer of mist between him and the truth. At this moment, Han Fei felt a sense of déjà vu. Wasn't this how those chess games old Han set up back then made him feel? He seemed to see the truth, but there were always hidden secrets waiting for him. Is Hongjun really trustworthy? Han Fei couldn't help but ask himself. At this moment, Han Fei frowned. Although Hong Jun and his ominous body should be completely irrelevant, it was Hong Jun's suggestion for him to come to the Sea of Stars. He also felt that this trip was meaningful, so he accepted it and came alone. However, he didn't expect to see the ominous being sealed all the way here. They even had to pay a huge price to walk out of the seal. Obviously, unless it was absolutely necessary, the ominous didn't want to sacrifice so many Dominator-level ominous for nothing. However, because of his arrival, his unwillingness to compromise, and his strength, this ominous chose to descend into the chaotic Star Sea. Wait. Thinking that this ominous person chose to descend into the chaotic Star Sea, Han Fei sensed something strange. Han Fei immediately shouted, "Aren't you afraid that once you leave, I will destroy your nest? Don't forget, I can enter this invisible barrier at will." However, this ominous person looked at Han Fei with pity. "Hong Jun thinks that giving you the creation jade plate can increase your luck and luck. What a joke. He has been in charge of the creation jade plate for so long, but he's just a turtle in a jar. What's the use of giving it to you? In the end, the two of you know nothing about me or this place." Han Fei was too lazy to care about the ominous mockery. Instead, he said coldly, "Why didn't you go to the chaotic Star Sea the moment I fell into it? But today?" The ominous asked, "Why do you think I'm eager to enter the chaotic Star Sea? Aren't you? Isn't swallowing the heavenly Tao of the entire chaotic Star Sea your pursuit all this time?" Hearing this, Han Fei couldn't help but have a strange feeling, because he found that there was nothing wrong with what the ominous said. From the moment the chaotic Star Sea was divided, the chaotic Star Sea was actually gradually falling. Apart from the number of strong masters, the chaotic Star Sea was indeed not much better than the primordial Star Sea. At the very least, the primordial Star Sea had the guardian divine realm, but in the chaotic Star Sea, only the strong masters like senior sister Shenlu could protect the myriad races. The only way was to fight. Han Fei sneered. "It seems that you were forced to descend into the chaotic Star Sea this time?" The ominous smiled contemptuously. "Look, didn't you guess it? Why do you think you fell into the primordial Star Sea? It's just that Hong Jun's ominous body deliberately did it. Your appearance changed the unchanging layout of the primordial Star Sea and broke the peace of the primordial Star Sea. With your strength as a peak-level dominator, the only meaning for you to appear here with the demon purification pot is to force me to leave the primordial Star Sea." Han Fei thought about a lot of things in an instant. One thing he was sure of was that Hong Jun's ominous body had different intentions from this ominous. At this moment, the ominous meant that he was forced to leave. In other words, it was Hong Jun's ominous body that pulled him into the primordial Star Sea with the purpose of forcing this ominous to descend into the chaotic Star Sea. However, what was the purpose of Hong Jun's ominous body? The ominous purpose was to destroy all races and control and devour the chaotic Star Sea. Hong Jun's ominous body had no intention to help this real ominous, so he shouldn't let the real ominous obtain the chaotic Star Sea at this moment. Suddenly, Han Fei thought of something. Yes, the current ominous had been trapped in the opening of the Sea of Stars. Then was the ominous mist and ominous creatures that covered the entire primordial Star Sea really controlled by him? Would the Hong Jun ominous body, which was also above the dominator level, allow the real ominous to control all of this? The answer was clearly no. He wants the primordial star sea? Contrary to the layout of the primordial star sea, the real ominous was the one who kept descending into the chaotic star sea. Therefore, the real ominous was the one who controlled the chaotic star sea. Even if the ominous body of Hongjun conquered the chaotic star sea, he couldn't swallow the heavenly Tao of the chaotic star sea. Therefore, the two had different goals. Hongjuan's ominous body had helped the real ominous fight for more than 8,000 years and even conquered the first battlefield. And the price to pay for the real ominous was to leave and give up the cake of the primordial star sea. Seeing the change in Han Fei's expression, the ominous couldn't help but say mockingly, "It seems that you've figured it out?" Han Fei said coldly, "In the chaotic star sea, the three temples are still there. Senior Sister Shenlu is in the same realm as me at this moment. Why do you think you can conquer the chaotic star sea?" The ominous voice said leisurely, "You've underestimated me. I should go. You'll figure it out sooner or later. Take it as a reminder. It's not that you don't have a chance now. If you can stay in the primordial star sea, Hongjuan's ominous body can't beat you, and you might be able to control the primordial star sea again, but I'll definitely conquer the chaotic star sea." In the opening of the Sea of Stars, the Dominator-level ominous that was wrapped in more than 1,000 big cocoons had all exploded, and the entire opening of the Sea of Stars was filled with a vortex made of ominous matter. Han Fei roared and slashed with all his strength, but the knife was corroded by the ominous matter in midair and couldn't hit the ominous vortex at all. Han Fei made up his mind and stepped into the opening of the Sea of Stars again. However, this time, when he stepped in, he immediately felt an infinite suction force, and this place was filled with ominous matter. After only one step, Han Fei had to retreat. The passage formed by sacrificing more than 1,000 Dominator-level ominous creatures was too terrifying. Even he was no match for it. The ominous chuckled. "You can also descend into the chaotic star sea with me." Bah! Han Fei was not stupid. He could indeed be teleported with them, but during the teleportation, he would definitely be corroded by the ominous again and have nowhere to escape. If he was corroded again, he wouldn't even know how to transform into the heavenly Tao. Damn! Han Fei could only watch helplessly as the 4 strong masters and more than 400 Dominator-level ominous creatures entered the ominous vortex at the same time. At that moment, Han Fei also saw that a large amount of gray powder from the depths of the hole in the Sea of Stars was also absorbed into the vortex. The gray powder surrounded the ominous and slowly melted into his body. In the end, a pair of pupils appeared from the depths. Just now, Han Fei met these eyes. What he saw was his divine path, which indicated endless killing. At this moment, he looked at it again, but what he saw was infinite darkness. Eye of the heavenly Tao? Of course, Han Fei knew the ominous intentions. The other party wanted to use him to restrain Hongjuan's ominous body, and he said it very frankly. But if he was really entangled with Hongjuan's ominous body in the primordial star sea, it would be in line with the ominous intentions. However, the ominous didn't know that he could indeed see some differences from the heavenly Tao eye. Han Fei's mind fell silent at that moment. As if he had fallen into a dark chaos, a strange light suddenly flickered in the darkness. In the next moment, he seemed to see all creatures growing at a visible speed. In the starry sky, a divine fetus was born. Han Fei was immersed in an inexplicable feeling. He felt that he seemed to have turned into a divine fetus. One moment, he was still a fetus, and the next moment, he was already above the heavens. In the next moment, his body crossed the infinite darkness and walked onto a black river. Buzz. Han Fei suddenly came back to his senses. The moment he sobered up, the heavenly Dao was already fading, as if it had been exhausted after showing him this. Is this the second divine path? Han Fei had 3 divine paths. He had thought that the 3 divine paths corresponded to his original body, Han Song, and Zhang Daqian. However, it wasn't until this moment that he realized that it didn't seem to be the case. The 3 divine paths only corresponded to him. Recently, the heavenly Dao had demonstrated 2 divine paths for him, but he didn't understand them. What did the divine fetus that was born mean? Unfortunately, the heavenly Dao was the heavenly Dao after all, not a human. It couldn't tell him the details, so it could only give him some inexplicable inspiration. At that moment, Han Fei seemed to see a river of black water flowing out of the eyes. Do the heavens cry too? Han Fei raised his head and looked at the ominous storm that had gradually subsided at the opening in the Sea of Stars. The ominous had left and might have descended on the chaotic star sea. When everything calmed down, Han Fei was a little confused. Could he make it in time? After being stunned for more than 10 seconds, Han Fei took a deep breath, and his eyes gradually became sharp. He entered the opening of the Sea of Stars again. But at this moment, there were no more ominous creatures here. He stepped to the deepest part of the Sea of Stars and saw the passage corroded by the ominous matter here. However, at this moment, this passage was actually healing. Yes, Han Fei didn't see it wrong. The passage that Hong Jun mentioned that had existed for countless years, the place of birth of the ominous, was actually healing. B** channel. One of Hongjuan's 2 guesses was confirmed. Since the ominous didn't come from the Sea of Stars, it meant that there had only been one so-called ominous from the beginning to the end. Besides, it was very likely to be the ominous matter. This didn't seem to be disputed. After all, the ominous matter gathered into an ominous figure in front of his eyes. But this also meant that the so-called ominous things he had seen or fought in the past were just puppet-like clones he had created. As for why Hongjuan's ominous body became an independent ominous creature, Han Fei had some guesses, but he had to return to the Guardian Divine Realm and see Hongjun first to confirm his guess. The result of this trip was actually completely beyond Han Fei's expectations. He had thought that the opening in the Sea of Stars was either sealed or not sealed. But now, the opening in the Sea of Stars was gone, the ominous had left, and the barrier formed by the mysterious mirror had completely lost its meaning. The broken mirror couldn't be restored. Han Fei couldn't even feel the existence of this mirror at all, let alone find the fragments of this mirror. At this moment, what Han Fei needed to consider was how to return to the Guardian Divine Realm. It had taken him 18 years to come from the Guardian Divine Realm. Although the obstacles along the way had been cleared by him, the path was probably covered by the ominous mist again. The key problem was not that this road was covered in ominous mist, but that he couldn't quickly travel through the world of Star River source power like in the chaotic Star Sea. This also meant that it would take him at least 10 years to return to the Guardian God Realm. However, when Han Fei looked at the creation Jade Plate at this moment, he felt that the luck environment of the Divine Vine immediately dimmed. This meant that the Sea Realm would definitely suffer changes in the near future. so he might not have decades. Even if he returned to the guardian divine realm, it could be foreseen that Hongjuan's ominous body would almost definitely be waiting for him outside the passage between the two worlds in the Mud Sea. Hongjuan's ominous body was meant to take down the primordial star sea. At this moment, the opening in the Sea of Stars was no longer a problem for him. He only needed to take down the guardian divine realm. Once the passage between the two worlds was opened and he was given a chance to enter the guardian divine realm, the 3,000 star rivers in the primordial star sea probably wouldn't be enough for Hongjuan's ominous body to fight for a day. Therefore, although the situation in the chaotic star sea was extremely urgent, Han Fei didn't race against time to rush back. This was because he knew that it would be too late if he left normally. No, there must be time. I must have missed something. Han Fei was so sure because he knew that Hongjuan's ominous body definitely didn't want to see the real ominous conquer the chaotic star sea earlier than him conquering the primordial star sea. With their ominous greed and appetite, if one of them took the lead to control a sea of stars, would they give up another sea of stars? Han Fei didn't know if they would break through to a higher level or what. After mastering a sea of stars, but he knew that Hongjuan's ominous body and the real ominous would definitely compete. Therefore, Hongjuan's ominous body must have known that it would take him more than 10 years to come here. He also knew that once the real ominous went to the chaotic star sea, it would launch an attack as quickly as possible. In that case, could he just watch the real ominous take down the chaotic star sea? The answer was absolutely impossible. Therefore, he must have left a way for him to return. Han Fei immediately tried to enter the world of Star River source power, but it was useless. The heavenly Tao of the primordial star sea had long been corroded, and Hongjuan's ominous body didn't leave a way out for him here. Other than this, is it the creation jade plate? Han Fei studied it for a long time, but still didn't find that the creation jade plate had this function. Han Fei took out the vast ocean navigator again. The moment the needle turned, Han Fei was overjoyed. As I expected, I knew that this old fox would never let the real ominous succeed first. However, in the next moment, Han Fei frowned, because the needle was pointing at him. Me? Why are you pointing at me? Could it be that the way back was on him? Han Fei's heart stirred. He certainly knew what treasures he had. He immediately took out the most likely creation jade plate, followed by the demon purification pot, but the demon purification pot had never had the ability to teleport, so Han Fei didn't have much hope. The blood sky blade was a weapon. Impossible. The creation divine prison, impossible. The hidden divine seal, possible. However, the hidden divine seal was only a supreme nature treasure after all. Even if it could guide him, could it guide him to cross infinite distances? The blade of hope was possible, but when he tried to cut out a teleportation channel, it was useless. The primordial 8 fierce swords and the creation mystic yellow tower were both offensive and defensive, but they were still useless. The path of reincarnation was used for life and death reincarnation. Should he kill himself? Wait a minute. Suddenly, Han Fei's eyes glittered. He had 2 reincarnation paths. The green jade stone bridge was the path of reincarnation in the chaotic star sea, but the reincarnation path of 6 Daos in the primordial star sea was also with him. And the green jade stone bridge could lead to the origin of chaos. What about the reincarnation path of 6 Daos? Could it lead to the origin of primordial chaos? Once he could enter the primordial origin, which contained all the star rivers. In the primordial star sea, he could actually reach the guardian divine realm. With a thought. Swish. 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 6 purple doors appeared. Han Fei didn't hesitate to enter from which door. Because the purpose of the 6 doors was reincarnation, and the only place in the current primordial star sea that could reincarnate was to protect the divine realm. Therefore, no matter which door he took, the result would be the same. This time, Han Fei didn't hesitate and chose a door to walk in. This was the first time Han Fei had entered the primordial purple gate, which was the reincarnation path of 6 Daos. As soon as he stepped into this place, surging primordial purple chi enveloped him. At this moment, Han Fei was even more certain of his judgment. The fact that there was still such rich primordial purple chi on this day when the primordial purple chi was almost exhausted could only be from the primordial source. There was only one road behind the door, which was vast and boundless. Han Fei sensed the source of the primordial purple chi and quickly moved forward. After only a few steps, he felt a powerful force that wanted to forcibly deprive his body and soul and disperse his laws. This power was very strong. He had only taken a few steps, but he felt that this power was so powerful that it could disassemble gods. When Han Fei continued forward, this power was almost at the level of being able to shake the sea-quelling god. It seems that the effects of reincarnation paths are very similar. The difference was that the river of laws under the green jade stone bridge wouldn't hurt Han Fei. And the reincarnation path of 6 Daos path was even more domineering, even trying to disassemble Han Fei. However, this power was limited to this. When one reached the Dominator realm, it could no longer shake him. There was no telling if it was because the Dominator had already exceeded the upper limit of reincarnation, or if the current primordial star sea had already been corroded by the ominous. In short, this trip was quite smooth. When Han Fei walked to the end of this road, he finally saw the billions of star rivers. However, most of these star rivers were dim, and only one star domain was still emitting divine brilliance. That was naturally the 3,000 star rivers in the Guardian divine realm. At the end of this road, there was a floating platform leading to the primordial origin. On the platform stood an ancient stone stele with 3 patterns condensed from Tao patterns. As long as it was a Tao pattern, it could be resolved. Han Fei glanced at it, and infinite Tao patterns disintegrated in his eyes, finally gathering into 3 words: reincarnation platform. Huh? Could it be that this path of reincarnation was not created by the heavens but by humans? Unfortunately, now was not the time for Han Fei to study this. He stepped in, tapped the bottom of the reincarnation platform with the tip of his foot, and stepped into the primordial origin. In the next moment, Han Fei felt countless summonings, which were extremely weak life auras. You want to reincarnate me? Han Fei ignored any of the summonings. Instead, he broke through the baptism of the primordial origin with his body and descended directly into the 3,000 star rivers of the guardian world. Buzz. When Han Fei suddenly descended and appeared in the guardian divine realm, he finally heaved a sigh of relief. Therefore, as long as he was strong enough, he could break the rules and ignore the heavenly Tao. At this moment, Hongjuan's voice suddenly sounded. Just now, I sensed that a peerless creature was about to be born, so I guessed that it was you. You didn't hesitate to return through the reincarnation path of 6 Daos. You seem To be in a hurry? Did something happen in the chaotic star sea? Han Fei said calmly, I'm indeed in a hurry. I need to go to the chaotic star sea immediately. But before that, I have a few more questions. I hope you can answer them truthfully. It's very important. After a few seconds of silence, Hong Jun finally replied, okay. Han Fei asked, first question, in your current state, can you open the passage between the two worlds? This question made Hong Jun fall silent for a few seconds. Finally, Hong Jun slowly said, no. Han Fei's pupils were constricted. Senior, is there ominous matter in the creation jade plate you brought back? Hong Jun was silent for a few more seconds, then sighed slightly and said, yes. Han Fei continued, so, Senior, you're actually contaminated by the ominous. Right? Yes. Han Fei said, so, Senior's ominous body wasn't created because you were unwilling to give up when you transformed into the heavens, but because you were contaminated by the ominous and cut your negative side out, right? Yes. Han Fei seemed to have expected it, so he wasn't surprised. He said, Senior. As you speculated, there's nothing behind that passage. It's closed now, but there's not only one ominous, but two all the time. Hong Jun was not surprised. Instead, he said calmly, is there one in the demon purification pot and one in the creation jade plate? Han Fei nodded. Yes, and Senior's ominous body should be outside the passage of the mud sea at this moment, waiting for the passage between the two worlds to open. At this point, Hong Jun finally raised his doubts. What happened at the opening in the Sea of Stars? At this moment, Han Fei also said calmly, it doesn't matter what happens. Senior, you just need to know that the hole in the Sea of Stars is gone, and the ominous has descended on the chaotic star sea. And your ominous body is waiting for the passage between the two worlds to open. And once this passage opens, the primordial star sea will be destroyed. Your ominous body will really control the primordial star sea and achieve the goal he has never achieved. After a pause, Han Fei's voice was full of killing intent. If the passage between the two worlds is not opened, the chaotic star sea will die. So, Senior, do you have a third path? This time, Hong Jun was silent for a long time and finally said slowly, yes. Hearing it, Han Fei heaved a long sigh of relief. He smiled and said, if you said no, I'm afraid I'll have to attack you. In fact, Han Fei knew that there was no problem with Hong Jun. He should be a friend but not an enemy, but he couldn't take the risk. From the beginning to the end, he only wanted to ask the first and last questions. He asked Hong Jun if he could open the passage between the two worlds now. Hong Jun's answer to this question must be true and correct. Han Fei just made use of the information gap, because Hong Jun didn't know what Han Fei knew from the opening in the Sea of Stars. He was afraid that once he said something wrong, he would immediately become Han Fei's enemy. However, this answer was actually not beyond Han Fei's expectations. This was because if there was something wrong with Hong Jun and he had already fallen, if he could open the passage between the two worlds, he would have done so long ago. Why would he wait until now? Therefore, if there was a problem with Hong Jun, he definitely couldn't open the passage between the two worlds on his own, so he could only answer no. However, Hong Jun didn't tell him that he couldn't open the passage between the two worlds. He only said that he would permanently seal this path, because after opening it, it would be accompanied by the loss of the heavenly Tao and luck of the primordial star sea, which would eventually cause the death of the Primordial star sea. What he said was that it was easy to mistake that he could open the passage between the two worlds at any time. Therefore, when Hongjun said no, Han Fei's heart skipped a beat. But he couldn't be sure if there was something wrong with Hongjun because of this. Therefore, he had one last question. Han Fei asked if there was a third way. As a person who had single-handedly established the chaotic star sea and sent countless creatures from the primordial star sea into it, how could he really not have any trump cards? There was one thing that Han Fei knew, which was the divine vine. The roots of the divine vine were rooted in the primordial star sea, which was a channel in itself. This passage might not be able to accommodate many people, but it could definitely be used as a singularity to cross space, even if this behavior would sacrifice the divine vine. Therefore, Hongjun could only say that there was. Because if he said there wasn't, Han Fei would definitely take action. If Hongjun had no problem, he would decisively help him return through the third path. If there was anything wrong with Hongjun, he still had to help him return. Because he clearly wouldn't open the passage between the two worlds. However, Hongjun couldn't let the real ominous control the chaotic star sea. He could only help him return. Therefore, all the questions were just Han Fei's test. He couldn't be sure that Hongjun was righteous just because he protected the 3,000 star rivers. This was because the fall of a person didn't necessarily need to be ominous. Especially since Hongjun was in an extremely awkward situation now. He was only the heavenly Tao, not a human. He was lonely and must be unwilling. However, as the heavenly Tao, he couldn't attack ordinary people directly, so Han Fei couldn't be sure if Hongjun was good or bad. Han Fei couldn't judge whether Hongjun was good or bad just because he gave him the creation jade plate. What if the creation jade plate was a shackle, too? Hongjun? However, from the first question to the last question, Hongjun at least answered perfectly, so Han Fei still couldn't tell if he was good or bad. However, before Han Fei could continue, Hongjun sighed slightly. There's no need for you to test me. Return the creation jade plate to me. Oh? Hearing this, Han Fei immediately felt a sense of respect and cupped his hands. Sorry, Senior. It's not that I'm too suspicious, but this concerns the survival of the two worlds. I can't take the risk. Han Fei immediately took out the creation jade plate. Of course, it wasn't that he didn't like the creation jade plate. Who wouldn't like a treasure comparable to the demon purification pot? However, he couldn't keep the creation jade plate just because he liked it and wanted it. Only when the creation jade plate was in Hongjun's hands could Han Fei feel at ease. His last solution was actually to return the creation jade plate. In this way, no matter if Hongjun was good or bad, the creation jade plate would restrain him. Another moment later, when Han Fei returned the creation jade plate and watched it become a part of the heavenly Tao, he was relieved. Han Fei immediately cupped his hands. Thank you for your cooperation, Senior. If I can defeat the ominous and your ominous body in the future, I will definitely return and help you purify the primordial star sea. At this moment, Hongjun said, actually, there's a better way for you to descend into the chaotic star sea. It might even allow you to surpass the Dominator realm. Buzz. Han Fei's eyelids twitched, and he looked up at the sky without saying anything. Hongjun slowly said, the spatial nodes of the two worlds, penetrated by the roots of the divine vine, can indeed allow you to descend. However, have you Ever thought of the significance of the existence of the 6 fruits on the divine vine? Hanfei was puzzled. Isn't this used to give birth to creatures of 6 lineages? Hongjun said leisurely, the first time was, and the second time was not. In fact, this is the last way out I left for myself. Huh? Hanfei didn't speak, and Hongjun continued, people like you and I will have some ways to survive. If the primordial star sea really falls, I will be born in the chaotic star sea, through the divine vine. But now, you chose to protect the primordial star sea and resist 2 ominous creatures beyond the dominator level alone. How can I sit by? The divine vine absorbed the luck of the 2 worlds and poured my billions of years of effort into it. I'll give it to you. Although the divine vine fruit hasn't matured yet, with your extraordinary luck that can carry the fate of the sea of stars and your aspiration to surpass the heavens, if you absorb the luck of the other 5 fruits, it should be able to mature in advance. At that time you will gather the luck of the 2 worlds in one body, but I don't know if you can transcend the dominator level. Hanfei opened his mouth slightly, thinking to himself, as expected of an extraordinary existence who established the chaotic star sea. Even the retreat path left for himself is directly to surpass the dominator realm. This time, Hongjuan's tone carried a trace of aloofness and confidence. That's impossible. I can't be wrong about your luck. If you descend, the divine fruit will definitely ripen. However, if you want to absorb the fruits of the other 6 lineages, it might take you some time. Whether to bet on the possibility of surpassing the dominator realm is up to you. I bet. Hanfei didn't hesitate at all. He had to take the risk. In fact, even if he returned to the sea realm with his current strength, so what? He and senior sister Shenlo might be able to restrain the 2 ominous creatures. But this time, in addition to these 2 ominous creatures, there were also 4 peak-level dominator-level ominous creatures and at least 400 dominator-level ominous creatures. This didn't include the power controlled by Hongjuan's ominous body. Plus the gray powder, even if Hanfei appeared in his strongest state, could he really defeat them? It had to be known that since the chaotic era, no one had been able to kill an ominous level creature, be it Songtian ruling all races, Li Daoi who had suppressed an entire era, or his eldest senior brother who had guarded several eras. In the end, their only way was to lead the ominous into the path of no return. Hanfei had just fought an ominous level ominous creature. Even if he only fought for a day, it was very difficult. He would be lucky if his Dao heart didn't collapse after fighting for 1,000 years like eldest senior brother. Therefore, if there was a chance to bet that he could surpass the dominator realm, why didn't Hanfei take the risk? Buzz. At that moment, in the guardian divine realm of the primordial star sea, the heavenly Dao moved. No one knew why the heavenly Dao moved. Only the heavenly monarch, the 9 heavens mystic fairy, and the supreme Dao monarch guessed that Hanfei had returned. At the same time, in the sea realm, the divine vine that had never shown signs of maturity in the ancestral land of the chaotic divine race, one of the 6 divine fruits emitted divine light and a dazzling golden halo. The moment the golden halo bloomed, the fruit retracted its charm. It has ripened? Qiu Wanren's eyes lit up and his heart stirred. Why now? How could it be now? A great enemy had just come from outside the sea realm, and this divine vine happened to mature. Qiu Wanren suddenly stood up. The first thing he wanted to do was to inform The Dominator-level powerhouses. Now the only human Dominator-level powerhouses were Han Guangqiu and Jiang Linxian. As for why he didn't inform others, this divine vine was used to nurture 6 lineages after all. It was only related to the 6 lineages. What was the use of calling others? However, just as Zhou Wanren was about to go out, he suddenly heard a voice from the fruit. "Old Zhou, it's me." Zhou Wanren was a little stunned. He first looked around, and in the end, his eyes fell on the fruit that was emitting a halo just now, and he looked incredulous. "Yes." Hiss. Zhou Wanren was shocked. "Weren't you taken away by the ominous? Why are you in the fruit?" Han Fei said, "It's a long story. Don't worry about how I got here." "Old Zhou. What's the situation in the sea realm now?" Zhou Wanren had seen a lot of things. Although this scene was very magical, he quickly recovered from his shock. The situation is not optimistic. The first battlefield has been conquered, and now the myriad races are guarding the periphery of the sea realm. However, there are too many enemies. 3 of the 7 divine realms you left behind have been destroyed. Besides, 1 of the divine realms happened to be conquered today. Today, there were suddenly many ominous strong masters outside the sea realm, so almost all the strong masters in the sea realm went to fight. Only 3 of them were conquered? Han Fei couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief when he heard that. Sure enough, Hongjuan's ominous body didn't sincerely make a deal with the ominous. Otherwise, with the strength of Hongjuan's ominous body, this matter should have been broken through at least 4 divine realms. Only 3? How many of them do you want to be conquered? Zhou Wanren was speechless. This was a life and death moment for all races, but Han Fei still had the strength to joke. Zhou Wanren said, "I'll inform your parents, wife, and children." "Wait a minute." Han Fei said, "I can see, but I can only see. Where are old Han and my mother?" Han Fei immediately discovered Han Chani, who was fighting outside the sea realm with the unique perception of his bloodline. At this moment, Han Chani already had the strength of a great monarch. Even Han Fei couldn't help but wonder how she could stack laws so quickly without the help of the path of reincarnation. So far, Han Chani's combat power was not bad, and she was not in danger for the time being. Zhou Wanren said, "Of course they're fighting outside. All the strong masters who can fight are fighting. Although they can't fight the powerful Dominator level ominous, they can still resist it." Han Fei thought for a moment and said, "Old Zhou, I can't come out yet, and I can't expose the news that I've returned. It's not that I can't tell them, but I'm afraid that your voice transmission will be exposed." Han Fei knew the ominous strength very well now. It was almost impossible to hide the voice transmission of Zhou Wanren, a sea-quelling god, from them. Zhou Wanren was stunned for a moment and asked suspiciously, "How long are you going to stay in this fruit?" Han Fei said, "I don't know, but it should be soon. Old Zhou, the reason why I can't appear for the time being is that once I appear, the sea realm will immediately be besieged by 2 ominous creatures above the Dominator level. And now, if I've guessed right, there should only be 1 ominous creature above the Dominator level." Zhou Wanren was stunned and immediately revealed a look of horror. Wasn't 1 taken away by your void temple? This news was spread by your void temple. It said that there was only 1 ominous left. Han Fei said, 2. I've already fought these 2 I can hold off one in the short term. Han Fei's words made sense. Hongjuan's ominous body would never attack at this moment. He couldn't be a thug for the real ominous. Therefore, there was a 99% chance that he was waiting for the passage between the two worlds to open in the depths of the mud sea. As for how long Hongjuan's ominous body would wait before he noticed it, Han Fei didn't know, but he could only delay it day by day. Qiu Wanren's expression was ugly, and it took him a long time to come back to his senses. You said you restrained one? Han Fei said, sort of. Old Qiu, guard me now. If no one takes the initiative to come here, don't go to the battlefield to tell them that I'm back. Guard you? What are you doing in this fruit? Han Fei's current state was very strange. This fruit contained the universe. After he entered this place, he had a half illusory and half real body. His body seemed to have completely fused with this fruit, turning into a special state of being one with the fruit. Han Fei felt that being able to control this fruit was like controlling his body. However, his flesh, soul, will, spiritual heritage, and so on had already been raised to the strongest state in the sea of stars, so this fruit couldn't substantially increase his strength. However, Hongjun had poured a lot of effort into leaving such a trump card for him, so there must be a deeper meaning behind it. He might not discover it until he absorbed the other fruits. At this moment, Han Fei was absorbing the other 5 fruits with his powerful strength. Not only did he want to swallow the other 5 fruits, but he also wanted to swallow the divine vine itself. Qiu Wanren's eyelids were twitching crazily, because he saw that the other 5 fruits began to emit a faint halo, but these halos were all absorbed by the fruit where Han Fei was. How could Qiu Wanren not know what Han Fei was doing? He was going to swallow the fruits of the other 5 lineages. Faced with Qiu Wanren's confusion, Han Fei said, Old Qiu, I'm trying to break through the Dominator realm. Tell me everything that happened while I was away. Above the Dominator realm? Qiu Wanren was shocked. Had Han Fei already reached this level? What had he experienced after being taken away by the ominous? However, Qiu Wanren didn't doubt him. He didn't think there was anything wrong with Han Fei in the fruit. In fact, only Han Fei could be connected to the fruit, because the 6 purple doors were all in his hands. Qiu Wanren also calmed down and began to tell Han Fei about the events of the past 8,000 years. Han Fei listened while absorbing the luck and power of the other fruits. Outside the chaotic sea of fire, there were infinite star fragments. This place had almost become a huge shattered star sea, forming the outermost barrier of the sea realm. In the shattered star river, at this moment, or rather at every moment, there were fireworks, each of which represented the death of a creature or an undead creature. With the top combatants restrained, the war between the ominous creatures and the undead lasted for 8,000 years. Han Fei glanced at the distance with his perception and sighed in his heart. Sure enough, after the first battlefield was penetrated, the ominous mist enveloped the chaotic star sea. The sea realm had probably become the last camp of the myriad races. Han Fei knew that the collapse of the first battlefield was almost inevitable. Although senior sister Shen Lu had already taken over the Void Temple and become the new main force to fight the ominous, to restrain senior sister Shen Lu, the ominous body of the primordial Dao ancestor would be enough. Although senior sister Shen Lu was strong, she had just reached the realm of 49 pieces of Star River source power and wasn't proficient in controlling her strength. Besides, senior sister Shunlu was good at killing. Her combat power was indeed very strong, but she might not be good at defense. No matter how strong she was, she couldn't kill the ominous body of the primordial Tao ancestor alone. And unlike eldest senior brother, whose random void attack could suppress the entire sea of stars, she didn't have enough ability to defend. Therefore, once senior sister Shunlu was restrained and the master of time's strength dropped, it would be difficult for them to defend the first battlefield. In fact, even if they could, senior sister Shunlu and the others didn't want to defend it, because it was meaningless to guard the first battlefield. In the past, they protected the first battlefield because the chaotic sea was cut off by the ominous mist and they couldn't return to the sea realm, so they had to fight. However, the predicament of the chaotic sea had been resolved. Senior sister Shunlu and the others didn't want a top combat power like the death god to be limited to the sea realm, so they had planned to abandon the first battlefield. Therefore, the collapse of the first battlefield was inevitable. At this moment, Han Fei didn't see senior sister Shunlu, the death god, the master of time, and the other top powerhouses Han Fei knew appear. Perhaps they were all fighting fiercely in deep space. However, he saw the Emperor Sparrow. At this moment, the Emperor Sparrow was soaring in the shattered star sea, flying continuously around the sea realm. However, wherever the Emperor Sparrow passed, all the ominous creatures disappeared. The ominous creatures that had been trying to charge into the chaotic sea of fire all seemed to have become nutrients for the Emperor Sparrow. As if sensing a strange gaze, the Emperor Sparrow couldn't help but look at the sea realm. In the next moment, the Emperor Sparrow seemed to find something. He flapped his wings, and was about to let out a sharp cry when Han Fei stopped him. Han Fei said, "Keep flying. Don't respond to me. Just pretend I don't exist." 5 days later. Rumble. Knock, knock, knock. The heavenly Tao crack bloomed, and the death knell wailed. This was the 183rd time Han Fei had seen an astronomical phenomenon at the level of a god in the past 5 days. Among them, there were 7 times at the god-slaying level, and 1 time at the sea-quelling god level. This meant that in just 5 days, the strong masters of the sea realm had suffered an unprecedented blow. In the sea realm, everyone was already in a panic, and the entire sea realm was discussing what's going on recently. Did a super war break out outside the sea realm? Why did so many strong masters die in just 5 days? Even the sea-quelling god has died. Is the sea realm going to collapse? The number of strong masters who died in the past 5 days is comparable to the number of people who died in the past hundreds of years. How can we fight like this? Damn it, why can't these ominous creatures give us more time? Someone sighed. What can you do even if they give you more time? Do you know how difficult it is to become a god? Someone sighed. Forget it, whatever. The ominous is endless. We will die. Sooner or later. It's just the difference between early and late. Bah, what are you talking about? Even the strongest are fighting. They didn't say they would give up. Why should you? All kinds of voices spread throughout the sea realm. In the past few days, Qiu Wanren was probably the most nervous. He watched Han Fei swallow 4 6+ fruits in a row in 5 days. At this moment, the 5th fruit had shriveled and looked like it would be completely swallowed at any time. How do you feel now? Can you surpass the Dominator realm? Qiu Wanren had asked this question countless times, and Han Fei replied every time, "I don't know." Han Fei replied patiently. He really didn't know that after swallowing almost 5 fruits, he seemed to be able to perceive everyone in the 6 lineages of the sea realm. There seemed to be infinite power accumulated in his body. This power might be able to help him break through the peak of the Dominator realm. However, there was no outlet of these powers. He had these powers, but he couldn't comprehend a way to surpass the Dominator realm. This was useless. His strength had long reached the peak of the Dominator realm in the first place. But no matter how much power he absorbed, it could only accumulate and had accumulated to the limit. Han Fei had to forcibly stuff this power into the black hole intertwined with his dual spiritual heritages, or seal it. This made the black hole vortex with 2 spiritual heritages change. The black hole became dazzling, no longer a black hole, but a golden hole. This made Han Fei suspect that the God-fiend body could be advanced to a higher level. Unfortunately, when he mobilized the power in the golden vortex, what he showed was still origin power, but it was stronger than before. It had roughly reached 80 million points of origin power, but this was still equivalent to initially entering the Dominator realm. It wasn't a big breakthrough. Seeing that his hope was dashed, in the past 5 days, in addition to absorbing the power of the 6 lineage fruits, Han Fei could only keep trying to deduce the 4th Tao pattern left by the mysterious woman. However, no matter how he tried, he found that the Tao pattern was empty. Could it be that this Tao pattern is meant to express the word empty? That's not right. These Tao patterns are all amalgamated with various great Tao patterns, but in the end, the Tao patterns melted. Why? Monarch, no name, God, no contribution, supreme, no heavens. Han Fei knew that the more eager he was, the more useless he would be. At this moment, something suddenly happened outside the sea realm. Retreat, retreat, retreat. Everyone, retreat into the chaotic sea of fire immediately. Before he saw anyone, he saw a voice that spread throughout all the battlefields outside the sea realm. Outside the sea realm, all the strong masters of the myriad races quickly retreated like dumplings thrown into the pot. After only half an hour, before the strong masters retreated and defended, ripples swept across the shattered star sea, and an ominous aura surged over. Seeing this, the Emperor Sparrow's speed soared to the extreme. He circled the sea realm and set up a hurricane barrier at a speed outside the sea realm, forcibly blocking this wave of ominous aura. At the same time, the Emperor Sparrow opened his mouth and swallowed many sea realm powerhouses who were contaminated by the ominous aura were sucked away by the Emperor Sparrow as soon as they were contaminated. Han Fei couldn't help being a little surprised. The Emperor Sparrow didn't just have the strength of a junior dominator. This strength probably exceeded 10 pieces of Star River source power. How did he do it in just 8,000 years? Even when he broke through to the Venerable Realm, he only had 9 pieces of Star River origin. After another half an hour, a divine dragon rolled back in the sea of stars, smashing a large number of broken stars in a row. Its dragon scales were incomplete. Han Fei's heart stirred. Who was this? This was not Senior Brother Azure Dragon, but a black dragon, and the other party had the strength of a Dominator and didn't seem weak. The old dragon roared, ****, I'll spit you to death. As soon as the Dominator level divine dragon stopped declining, it turned over and rose. Black flame spewed out of its mouth, forming a black pillar of light that shot into the distant void. A Dominator-level ominous swept over from deep space with boundless mist. Surrounding the Dominator-level ominous were the strong masters of the sea. Realm. Han Fei saw Han Guanqiu, Jiang Linxian, senior brother Azure Dragon, and fifth senior brother, as well as the 3 palace masters of the time. Temple and the 10 Yama kings. Yes, so many people were fighting this one ominous, but even the Dominator level divine dragon was killed so miserably. The closer the ominous mist got, the more familiar figures Han Fei saw. 4. Example, Shiman Linglan, Senior Sister Dark Shadow, Senior Sister Green Lotus, and Senior Sister Red Lotus, and the 2 Dominator-level powerhouses of the Sea Realm were also retreating. Among them, except for the people from the Time Temple who had mastered the Time Indestructibility technique, the others were all injured, weak in chi and blood, and their bodies were broken. Even old Han had lost an arm and his hair was disheveled. He was no longer as elegant as before. Han Fei immediately recognized the ominous creature with billowing ominous mist and many Dominator-level ominous creatures. It was one of the 4 ominous creatures who fought him in the opening in the Sea of Stars. Yes, although the ominous itself was 1 level weaker than the strong masters of the myriad races, it was still an ominous creature that had reached the peak of the Dominator realm. If no top combat power confronted it, the myriad races could only be defeated. In the past, such an ominous peak-level Dominator could compete with Senior Sister Shenlu and the Master of Time without being defeated. Qiu Wanren suddenly stood up. Is this really ominous? Why can't so many of us beat it? Han Fei, are you not done yet? 36-37 Human Emperor returns, Divine Vine turned into a gourd, 1. In 5 days, he hadn't had the time to absorb all the divine fruits. He didn't even know what would happen at the last moment. He wouldn't know until he completely absorbed the 5th sixpulse fruit. However, it was indeed dangerous at this moment. There were a few people who hadn't had the time to retreat, and his parents were clearly no match for the ominous. If it weren't for the fact that they were mostly Dominator-level powerhouses, they might have been completely wiped out. And this was only a peak-level Dominator-level ominous creature. The other Dominator-level ominous creatures hadn't taken action yet. Seeing this scene, Han Fei already knew the combat power of the current Sea Realm. Senior Sister Shenlu must have fought the real ominous. The Master of Time, the Death God, and Senior Brother Undead must have resisted the attacks of 4 peak-level Dominators and even attracted the siege of a few ordinary Dominators. However, it was obvious that someone was fighting 2 alone, and he couldn't hold on anymore. One of the 4 peak-level Dominator-level ominous creatures ran out. As for the others, they were supposed to be responsible for the ominous creatures below the Dominator level. They had no choice but to work together to snipe this peak-level Dominator ominous. Otherwise, this battle wouldn't have lasted for 5 days. With this divine dragon, the Void Temple, and the Palace Masters of the Time Temple, it would be good if they could hold on for at most 1 day. It wasn't that Han Fei underestimated the 3 temples now, but that the other party was too strong. Even if he took action, he didn't dare to say that he could easily take down such a strong master without the help of the demon purification pot. However, it was precisely because they were working together to snipe this peak-level Dominator-level ominous that the battlefield they were originally responsible for suffered a loss of combat power and was forced to retreat step by step. At this moment, the peak-level Dominator-level ominous was about to reach the chaotic sea of fire. As the main force of this battle, the old divine dragon was seriously injured. Facing the peak-level dominator-level ominous that could maintain its peak state with the ominous mist at any time, it was clearly not enough. In the next moment, Han Fei saw that Jiang Linxian was sent flying together with the primordial seal, and Jiang Linxian's arms were almost broken, and blood flowed from her mouth into the sky. Seeing this, old Han held Jiang Linxian with one hand and threw out a long scroll with the other. As soon as the scroll entered the sky, it turned into 9 dragons of laws, trying to lock the void. The peak-level dominator-level ominous sneered. 9 dragons see returning. Array, not good enough. The dominator-level ominous condensed an ominous aura and punched out. The 9 dragons of laws were annihilated at the same time, and Han Guanchu's blood splashed in the sky. Grandpa. In the chaotic sea of fire, Han Chani was extremely anxious. At this moment, Xiao Xiaochan and the others hadn't returned and were still fighting. In the past 8,000 years, Xiao Xiaochan had been busy cultivating, so Han Guanchu and Jiang Linxian took care of Han Chani more. Han Chani felt that she was an orphan now. Seeing that Jiang Linxian and Han Guanchu were both seriously injured, she immediately became anxious. Han Guanchu roared, "Don't come over. We're fine. Stay in the chaotic sea of fire." Han Chani knew her limits. That was a dominator-level battle. Even the aftershock of the battle was not something she could withstand. As he spoke, Senior Brother Azure Dragon and 5th Senior Brother filled in. Senior Brother Azure Dragon took out a piece of intrinsic embryo scale, condensed it into an extremely dazzling broadsword, and slashed out a power several times greater than his own. His combat power instantly increased to 30 pieces of Star River Source power. But Han Fei could tell that after 5th Senior Brother drew this sword, his blood and chi were exhausted, and his body cracked. Obviously, he had also used some secret method. However, the peak-level dominator-level ominous turned into 2 huge claws and pounced forward with the ominous tide. Puff. 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 Crack. 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 A large amount of the ominous mist was purified, and the 2 huge claws were almost shattered by the broadsword and the sword. But immediately afterward, 2 more claw marks suddenly appeared. 5th Senior Brother barely had the time to summon a mist of history to block it, but it was easily pierced through by the 2 of them. As for Senior Brother Azure Dragon, his scales burst out with divine brilliance and blocked the ominous with his own body at that moment. Pooh. 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 However, Senior Brother Azure Dragon's huge dragon body was torn into 6 pieces. Fortunately, the Black Divine Dragon had recovered a little at this moment. It slapped Senior Brother Azure Dragon away with its tail and also tore apart the 2 claw marks with its sharp claws. The Emperor Sparrow arrived in time and swallowed an ominous mist. In this way, everyone managed to block this blow. Upon seeing this, Han Fei's face darkened. Were Senior Brother Azure Dragon and the others not strong? Of course not. In the 8,000 years when he wasn't around, Senior Brother Azure Dragon and 5th Senior Brother had both become dominators by paying a certain price and unleashing their secret techniques. They had nearly 30 pieces of Star River Source power. Who dared to say that they weren't strong? However, the strength of the enemy was beyond imagination. Ordinary dominators were actually meaningless to this peak-level dominator. Ominous. No dominator-level powerhouse had died yet. It was completely because the powerhouses of the myriad races had many magic treasures and were born with some abilities to restrain the ominous Emperor Sparrow. The peak-level dominator-level ominous snorted after seeing the Emperor Sparrow. This was because the birth of the Emperor Sparrow also exceeded the ominous understanding, but in a certain aspect, the Emperor Sparrow was the more perfect ominous, which made him jealous. 36-38 Human Emperor returns. Divine Vine turned into a gourd, too. The Emperor Sparrow was actually complaining in his heart, thinking, that guy has clearly returned. What is he doing now? Why is there no sound at all? Walala. Infinite flame suddenly ignited in the boundless void on the opposite side. But as soon as the power of the flames bloomed, it was extinguished by an ominous mist. The peak-level dominator-level ominous said, "You haven't advanced for long. You're not qualified to burn the ominous with a thought." The Emperor Sparrow said, "You'll know if I'm qualified or not after you try." The peak-level dominator sneered. "Ha ha ha. Do you need to try?" Buzz. Behind him, the dominator-level ominous creatures finally moved. In an instant, more than 30 people came out. And the power emitted by these dominator-level ominous creatures was not weak. Many of them even reached 10 pieces of Star River source power. Obviously, these dominator-level ominous creatures had more or less swallowed some ominous matter. Otherwise, they wouldn't be so strong. The Black Divine Dragon cursed, be asterisk starred, so what if you have more people? As the Divine Dragon cursed, it stirred the void, setting off tens of thousands of spatial channels outside the sea realm to help the weak return. However, this peak-level dominator-level ominous only waved its hand gently. And the more than 30 dominator-level ominous immediately took action to shatter these teleportation spaces. The peak-level dominator-level ominous said arrogantly, "A mere sea realm will eventually perish. There's no need to save these people. You can't save them either." It was also at this moment that the fifth sixth lineage fruit that was about to be swallowed by Han Fei was finally completely swallowed. As Hong Jun said, descending through the divine vine might waste a short time. 5 days was indeed very short, but after Han Fei absorbed the other 5 sixples fruits, he found that things were not that simple. The moment Han Fei swallowed the last six-line fruit, he felt infinite Daos. These Daos were not great Daos, but all the Daos of the creatures of the 6 lineages. Some of these Daos were owned by the current creatures of the 6 lineages. And some had once appeared and disappeared in the dust of history. But at this moment, they all appeared like countless stars. They're not the great Daos, but all the paths that the creatures of the 6 lineages have walked. Their infinite Tao hearts. Han Fei discovered that even ordinary people had their own Tao. Their every choice and their existence had made this Tao. This discovery shocked Han Fei, because he realized that the great Tao was only a part of the Tao. The real Tao was endless. It would be born and die. Just like life and death. Then where did the Tao come from? Living beings determine the existence of the Tao. At the beginning of the world, when there were only the primordial and the chaos, did Tao exist? Yes, it wasn't that he hadn't unlocked the Tao pattern, but that he had done so from the beginning. Yes, he should have known that since it was a Tao pattern recording, unlocking the Tao pattern meant unlocking its true meaning. However, he didn't understand it. And when the Tao pattern was broken down, the Tao pattern melted, leaving only an empty space. And this meant no Tao. When that woman established the primordial star sea, when the world was first created, there was no life or destruction, and there was no Tao. When all things were born, there were all kinds of Daos. Therefore, humans were the Tao, and all things were the Tao. All of a sudden, the spiritual fruit where Han Fei was trembled. He understood. He understood the last realm. Monarch, no name, God, no contribution, supreme, no heavens. Tao, no Tao. The first Tao represented the realm of oneself and all living beings. And this realm could be called the Tao realm, or the Taoless realm, because in this realm one could really control all Taos. Or rather, whichever Tao you chose. You could give birth to that Tao. For example, in this realm, the great Tao of time was no longer mysterious. Anyone who entered this realm could control time. However, what Han Fei wasn't sure about at that time was whether the self-born Tao was an origin Tao or an ordinary Tao. This couldn't be known until he reached that realm. In short, this was the one that the heavenly Tao hid. This was because the heavenly Tao didn't master this Tao, but creatures gave it to the heavenly Tao. The heavenly Tao was never complete, there was a glimmer of hope in everything. This was because the last Tao was not in the heavenly, but in all creatures, even a small ant. At that moment, Han Fei felt that Hong Jun was too terrifying and could be said to be a genius. In fact, he had already found a way to surpass the Dominator realm, but he couldn't abandon the primordial star sea, so the divine vine had never been born. Otherwise, if Hong Jun gave up the primordial star sea and chose this retreat that was left for him, he would probably understand this. However, after understanding the so-called Taoless realm, what should he do? After all, just because he had mastered the realm and understood the abilities of this realm didn't mean that Han Fei could immediately advance to this realm. 3639 Human Emperor returns. Divine Vine turned into a gourd. 3. Bang! 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 At this moment, for a Dominator, it was simple to destroy a mere passage. And many of the powerhouses, who didn't have the time to return to the myriad races, had already been swallowed by the ominous. Han Fei knew that he had no time to think. He had to take action. However, the appearance of a mere spiritual fruit was really not intimidating. And it was not conducive to combat. He couldn't come out now. He hadn't completely absorbed the divine vine. How could he come out easily? Han Fei shook and his fruit body transformed into a gourd. It became a gourd not for any special reason, but because Han Fei thought of it. Swish. Just as the Black Dragon Dominator, fifth senior brother, and the others had ugly expressions and didn't know how to attack, suddenly, a wisp of sword intent bloomed from the sea realm. Everyone noticed that the sword intent appeared outside the chaotic sea of fire in the blink of an eye. With a puff, a Dominator-level ominous was instantly pierced through by the sword. In the next moment, golden flames bloomed all over the Dominator-level ominous creature's body. It burned fiercely and wailed in pain in the flames. It was directly incinerated to nothingness. Even the ominous mist couldn't revive. And this sword wasn't over yet. It instantly pierced through another Dominator-level ominous. Only at this moment did the peak-level Dominator-level ominous have the time to attack. He wanted to grab the wisp of sword intent, but in the next moment, the Dominator-level ominous expression changed drastically. This wisp of sword intent contained unparalleled killing intent, almost the same as Shin Li's power. Bang! The ominous peak-level Dominator's entire arm was minced by this sword. Although it recovered in the next second, he was also shocked by this sword. Was there still a strong master of this level in the sea realm? Not to mention the peak-level dominator, even the divine dragon and the others who were fighting him were shocked and looked at the sea realm. Lei Hing shouted, "Are there hidden strong masters in the sea realm?" However, when he looked over, he saw a big gourd floating where Qiu Wanren was, guarding the divine vine. Yes, they weren't mistaken. It was a gourd that looked like the kind fifth senior brother drank wine with. Lei Hing said, "Fifth senior brother, that divine fruit has grown into a gourd." Fifth senior brother was also dumbfounded. "Why does this look familiar?" Lei Hing rolled his eyes. "Isn't it familiar? You use gourd to store wine every day. Which gourd don't you find familiar?" Senior brother Six God asked, "Why do I remember that the divine vine doesn't look like this? And the divine vine has 6 fruits? How did it become one?" One was the Emperor Sparrow. He knew that this was Han Fei, but he didn't know why Han Fei became a gourd on the divine vine. The other was Shiman Linglan. She sensed the existence of the blade of hope. "He's back." The corners of Shiman Linglan's mouth curled up into a faint smile, and her heart that had long been silent began to palpitate again. However, as soon as Han Fei attacked, the peak-level dominator-level ominous seemed to be a little angry. He had already fought his way to the gate of the myriad races and was about to sweep through the strong masters of the home of the myriad races, but now a hindrance appeared. How could he not be angry? He immediately attacked again. This time, he smashed out millions of ominous fist lights like stars falling and a natural disaster descending. "Hey! Come on, activate the time-sealing sky lock." Instantly, the 3 palace masters of the Time Temple and Shiman Linglan were about to attack at the same time. However, with a swish, the purple gold gourd in the sea realm appeared in the sea of stars outside the chaotic sea of fire. Bam! 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 At that moment, thousands of huge gourds erupted in the void, spewing out endless brilliance. The ominous fist marks that looked like stars were shattered one after another. In the end, the purple gold gourd pierced through the sky billions of kilometers and crashed at the ominous creature at the peak of the Dominator realm. The latter didn't know that this was Han Fei. He only thought that it was a powerful treasure similar to the 9-turn heavenly wheel hidden by the myriad races. He even sneered, not believing that this gourd could really seriously injure him. Behind him, the endless ominous mist turned into an entire nebula, turned into huge sharp claws, and grabbed at Han Fei. However, when he felt the power of the gourd at close range, he couldn't help but be secretly shocked. How could this gourd be so strong? Its strength had reached the peak of the Dominator realm. Which supreme nature treasure could be so strong? Why didn't he know about it before? With a loud bang, the void billions of kilometers long collapsed. In the shattered star sea, a vacuum collapsed. When everyone looked again, the ominous creature at the peak of the Dominator realm was directly smashed into a meat patty by the gourd. Its entire body was shattered, and its body was even enveloped by a rich light of purification. However, after all, it was an ominous at the peak of the Dominator realm. After being defeated in one blow, it immediately emitted an ominous mist, and he quickly retreated into the ominous mist. Hiss! The Black Dragon Dominator, who was about to fight head-on, was dumbfounded. He couldn't help being speechless. He, the dignified ancient dragon god, was even weaker than a gourd? 3640 Human Emperor returns, Divine Vine turned into a gourd, 4. The Emperor Sparrow's eyelids were also trembling. He knew that this guy was not dead, but why did he suddenly become so strong? Han Guangqiu, Jiang Linxian, fifth senior brother, Lei Heng, and the others were also shocked and dumbfounded. Lei Heng said, "Is this mature divine vine so powerful? It's already standing at the peak of the sea of stars, before it's born?" Senior brother 6, God couldn't help but sigh. So, after cultivating for so long, we're still not as good as a fruit? Not only were the Black Dragon Dominator and the others dumbfounded, but the powerhouses who had escaped back into the chaotic sea of fire also sighed in shock. What is that? Are you blind? That's a gourd. I surely know that's a gourd. But isn't this gourd too strong? Is this a supreme nature treasure? Impossible. How can a supreme nature treasure be so strong? Even so many dominators couldn't beat the ominous, but this gourd smashed it into pieces. If this was a supreme nature treasure that could be used by all races, the ominous would have long been gone. Han Chani and Zhang Panpan were also exclaiming. Zhang Panpan said, "What a powerful gourd. It smashed the ominous so easily. I think it can compare to Uncle Human Emperor's demon purification pot." Han Chani frowned. That's impossible. The demon purification pot is the strongest. When Han Fei was forcibly dragged into that unknown place by the ominous, she cried for a long time. Countless people thought that Han Fei was the savior of the world. She firmly believed it. She no longer blamed Han Fei for hooking up with other women. She just hoped that Han Fei could return. Now, someone said that this gourd was comparable to the demon purification pot. How could she be willing? Pa. Like thunder in the clear sky, countless people shivered. As soon as Han Chani said so, with a crack, the green vine of the gourd waved in the air, like a divine whip. With a whip, a dominator-level ominous that was about to destroy the void channel was directly whipped apart, and then a light of purification fell from the sky. The moment the light of purification enveloped the dominator ominous, Han Fei directly cut off the dominator ominous life river, causing the dominator ominous to die and dissipate without any chance to recover. This time even Han Chani couldn't help but open her mouth. She didn't know how to refute. Pa. 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 The divine vine whipped 7 times in a row, and the 7 dominator level ominous creatures died without even having a chance to run. As for the ominous creature that was crushed by Han Fei, it finally couldn't sit still anymore. According to this killing method, no matter how many dominator-level ominous creatures there were, they would still be whipped to death. He attacked again, but this time, he was no longer careless. Instead, he began to attack Han Fei with the boundless ominous mist, trying to wrap Han Fei in the ominous mist. But how could Han Fei be afraid of this thing? He had killed peak-level dominators before. The gourd was shining with divine light, the light of purification condensed, and the law of life accurately located it. Faced with the surging ominous mist, the gourd began to tremble crazily. The light of purification surrounded the gourd and seemed to turn into a ring of stars. The moment the dominator level ominous arrived, an oscillating ripple, like a blade, instantly spanned thousands of light years, covering the star river. At that moment, the ominous mist that enveloped this star river was dispersed. Billions of ominous creatures were killed and dispersed by the purifying knife. Light. In the ominous mist that dispersed the star river, Xia Shaochan, Zhang Xuanyu, Zhang Daqian, Han Song, Little Black, and Little White all appeared in Han Fei's perception. Han Song and Zhang Daqian immediately synchronized information with him. Xia, Xiaochan and the others were also at a loss. Where was the ominous creature? Fighting with them? Had it been purified by the light just now? Zhang Xuanyu shouted, "Come on, don't waste this opportunity. Go back to the chaotic sea of fire. Humph, die." Han Fei's super-large-scale purification had limited effect on the ominous. Above the Dominator level. Even the God-slaying level ominous couldn't be completely purified. However, below the God-slaying level, there was almost no chance of survival. Seeing that Han Fei could unleash such divine brilliance, the ominous peak level Dominator slapped Han Fei's gourd at the risk of being pierced by Han Fei again. However, the power of this palm failed to shake Han Fei. Only the ominous matter surrounded the gourd, trying to contaminate it. At that moment, the Black Dragon Dominator roared, "Don't be contaminated by the gray powder. That thing is a curse. Once you are contaminated, you can't escape." However, the Black Dragon Dominator reminded him too late. Therefore, seeing this scene, his heart couldn't help but turn cold. However, what made him even more speechless was that the gray powder was sucked into the gourd through its shell. It's over. It's over. Even the Black Dragon Dominator wanted to slap himself. It wasn't easy for a super existence to appear that could compete with the ominous, but it was contaminated by the gray ominous powder. This gourd would probably be damaged. Ha ha ha. The peak-level Dominator laughed ominously. No matter how magical you are, you will still become an ominous servant. Shut up. Puff. 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 Just as the ominous peak-level Dominator roared, suddenly, 10 small vines penetrated him in an instant and began to devour him crazily. Demon purification pot? How is it possible? The peak-level Dominator wanted to retreat, but the demon purification pot caught him. Where could he retreat to? Even an ominous creature that had reached the peak of the Dominator level wasn't absolutely invincible. It was indeed a little difficult for Han Fei to kill it directly, but it wouldn't be difficult for the demon purification pot to kill it. This ominous creature at the peak of the Dominator level didn't expect Han Fei to appear here in such a form. Otherwise, it would never have been able to fight Han Fei in such close combat. Demon purification pot? Demon purification pot? Little junior brother? Fei Fei? Darling. Dad? Human Emperor? Pa, pa, pa. The divine vine was still whipping. Every time the vine whip fell, a Dominator level ominous died. Roar. Human Emperor hasn't died. He has returned. I knew it. As the owner of the demon purification pot, how could the human Emperor die so easily? So strong. Such an infinitely terrifying ominous was destroyed with a vine. How strong is the human Emperor? However, where is human Emperor? Why is there only a gourd? It looks like the human Emperor is in the gourd. The appearance of Han Fei and the demon purification pot brought hope to countless people. They had been fighting too long and sacrificing too much in this war. Unlike the primordial era, they had pitifully few resources, magic weapons, and strong masters. Without the 3 temples, it was impossible for the myriad races to resist such a powerful ominous army. But even so, the strong masters of the myriad races were forced to retreat to The sea realm and Han Fei's appearance killed the peak-level dominator level. Ominous that many dominators couldn't shake in one fell swoop. For the strong masters of the myriad races, this was already a great victory, worthy of everyone's cheers. Of course, most people were excited. For Xia Xiaochan and Shiman Linglan, the weight in their hearts was finally lifted. The last thing they wanted to see was that they were about to die but couldn't see Han Fei one last time. However, now was not the time to reminisce. Han Fei knew that he had to end this battle quickly. If he guessed right, Hongjuan's ominous body would soon discover his return. He wanted to keep it a secret for the past few days, because he needed time to absorb the six-pulse fruit. It would be good if he could keep it a secret, but he needed to kill this peak-level dominator-level ominous now. If he didn't kill it now, he might not have a chance in the future. Therefore, even if he was exposed, he had to kill it. Pa. 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 The entire Star River was suppressed by Han Fei. The law of life enveloped the entire Star River, and the shadow of the divine vine flashed in the void. 1, 2, 3. Without that peak-level dominator-level ominous creature, no dominator-level ominous creature could resist Han Fei. The Black Dragon Dominator, fifth senior brother, and the others didn't hesitate. They immediately shouted, "Counterattack and kill our way back." Buzz. At the same time, under the brilliance of the light, the injured old Han senior brother Azure Dragon, Han Fei's mother, the Black Dragon Dominator, and the others felt the flames of life beating on their bodies at the same time. In the next moment, they felt that the injuries in their bodies were recovering at a terrifying speed. Old Han's broken arm, which was originally covered with a destructive ominous power, was also purified at this moment. The Black Dragon Dominator muttered, "When I saw this kid thousands of years ago, he was only a peak-level great monarch. But he's already at this level?" The Black Dragon Dominator's muttering didn't escape Han Fei's ears. Han Fei was a little puzzled. When had he ever met this Black Dragon Dominator? Suddenly, Han Fei remembered that this might be the ancient dragon god in the depths of the dragon pool. However, hadn't this guy already died? Why was he still alive? However, Han Fei didn't pay much attention to it. The strength of this ancient dragon god shouldn't be at its peak, at least not as strong as it sounded before. It must have been dormant for too long and its strength had dropped. Pa. When Han Fei killed another 9 dominator-level ominous creatures with the divine vine, the peak-level dominator-level ominous creature sucked by the demon purification pot finally died. Han Fei was about to continue to attack, when he suddenly felt a gaze coming from dozens of star rivers away. At the same time, an angry voice sounded. "Between the heavens and earth, human emperor, you disappoint me." Exchanging the primordial star C for the chaotic star C is your best choice. Unfortunately, you gave up. As soon as this voice sounded, the strong masters who were about to fight were also stunned. Where did this voice come from? In their perception, they had no idea where the source of the voice came from. Also, what was the primordial star C? A muffled sound came from the gourd where Han Fei was. Everyone, return to the sea realm immediately. Han Fei even triggered some of the void in this star river to teleport many people from the battlefield to the edge of the chaotic sea of fire. Ignoring the shock of these people, Han Fei finally responded, "If I give up the primordial star C and let you achieve your wish, will you let go of the chaotic star C?" The person who spoke was naturally Hongjuan's ominous body. However, Han Fei didn't expect him to come so quickly. He had only appeared for dozens of seconds and hadn't even killed all these Dominator-level ominous creatures. Hongjuan's ominous body was really a little angry at this moment. In his plan, after the real ominous appeared in the chaotic star sea, Han Fei should open the passage between the two worlds in a day, at most 3 days. The reason why he felt that he would come in 3 days at most was that he believed that Han Fei would definitely find a way to return to the Guardian God realm through the primordial origin. The reason why he was sure that Han Fei would take the passage between the two worlds was that he didn't think Han Fei was stupid. He was shrewd and selfish. He should know that only giving the primordial star sea to him was the best choice. Otherwise, the chaotic star sea would face the wrath of him and the real ominous, 2 people above the Dominator level. This was an extremely stupid action. Hearing Han Fei's answer, Hongjuan's ominous body snorted coldly. I thought that there would be a tacit understanding between us. If I devour the primordial star sea, the next one will destroy the real ominous. As for you, with the creation jade plate and the demon purification pot, you can completely protect the guardian world and the strong masters of the entire myriad races and take them into the path of no return. With the natural protection of the creation jade plate, even the path of no return can't annihilate you. You might even be able to reach the end of the path of no return. I didn't expect you to be so stupid as to choose to return alone and completely make me your enemy. In the gourd, Han Fei's heart stirred. He had really neglected Hongjuan's idea. Yes, he, who had the creation jade plate before, could indeed use him to protect all races. Even if he didn't leave the chaotic star sea, the worst situation would only become the current primordial star sea, but most people could still live and work in peace. Hongjuan's ominous body was also good at calculating. He had even calculated that he could return to the guardian god realm through the primordial origin. How could he not foresee his future worries? However, in general, Hongjuan's ominous body was a little domineering, but he did leave a way for him and the myriad races. However, this idea never appeared in Han Fei's mind at all. However, after a moment of silence, Han Fei smiled and shook his head. You think I'll gladly take the risk, but you still asked me to bet. I don't mind if you ask me to bet, but I do mind if you ask me to take billions of lives to bet. They don't need to see the scenery of the path of no return. Pa. While talking to Hongjuan's ominous body, Han Fei attacked again and killed a Dominator-level ominous. However, in the next moment, a black divine deer appeared only 10,000 kilometers away from Han Fei. On the divine deer sat a sage-like old man. At this moment, everyone noticed this person. Senior brother Azure Dragon asked, Little junior brother, who is this person? Han Fei was a little puzzled. Have you never seen him before? Hongjuan's ominous body personally said, if I really want to conquer the chaotic star sea, you can't defend this place at all. The one who attacked them before was only a peak-level dominator under me. As for me, I never personally took action. Swish. 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 In the next moment, Han Fei saw 3 peak-level dominator-level ominous creatures appear behind Hongjun. Seeing this scene, Han Fei's heart sank. For him, this ominous body at the peak of the Dominator realm was naturally nothing to be afraid of. However, for others, the ominous at the peak of the Dominator realm was almost no different from the real ominous, because they were no match for them. Han Fei couldn't help but feel a chill down his spine. If Hong Jun restrained him, these 3 peak-level Dominator ominous creatures would probably be able to directly enter the sea realm. Han Fei said, "You shouldn't take action now either. The chaotic star sea is occupied by the real ominous. If you conquer the sea realm, the ominous that swallows and controls the chaotic star sea won't be you. Do you think he will let you go?" Hongjuan's ominous body said indifferently, "Therefore, you can either open the passage between the 2 worlds now, or I'll restrain you. I won't destroy the sea realm, but that one will. I'll let you personally witness the destruction of the myriad races in front of your eyes. And I can still return to the primordial star sea and seal all the passages between the 2 worlds. Even if that person controls the chaotic star sea, it won't be easy for him to devour me." Pa. This time, Han Fei wanted to attack the scattered Dominator-level ominous creatures again, but a void hand bloomed in the void and blocked the divine vine. Hongjuan's ominous body said, "Although these ominous creatures are controlled by that one, why do you think I'll let you kill them?" This scene was seen by 5th senior brother and the others. Han Fei's terrifying whip could kill a Dominator-level ominous, but it was easily stopped by someone. What did this mean? The old man riding the deer was definitely an extremely terrifying existence, even surpassing the peak level Dominator-level ominous just now. Finally, 5th senior brother said, "It's the ominous. An ominous level powerhouse." At that moment, everyone was shocked. How could another ominous level powerhouse appear? However, they knew how terrifying the real ominous level was. In history, no one in the chaotic star sea had ever really won against an ominous level ominous creature. The only way was to take them into the path of no return. Therefore, when they saw another ominous level ominous creature appear, they felt as if a huge rock was pressing down on their hearts and could no longer be happy. Even Shiman Linglan's face was a little pale. Han Fei had been gone for more than 8,000 years. She didn't want to experience the pain of parting again. She had waited too long. However, Han Fei sneered. "Are you kidding me? Once he takes control of the chaotic star sea, it's only a matter of time before you die. So what if he hides in the primordial star sea? Since he can come to the chaotic star sea, he can go to the primordial star sea. Therefore, do I need you to give me a choice? Why don't I give you 2 choices? Let's work together to kill all his subordinates. At that time, when you return to your primordial star sea, I will find a way to send that one to the path of no return, making it impossible for him to return. At that time, you will be the only ominous in this world. You can't kill us, and we can't kill you either. Then we can live in peace. What do you think of it?" However, Hongjuan's ominous body also chuckled. "It's not impossible. However, you should be the one going to the path of no return, not Shenlu." Of course, Hongjuan's ominous body wouldn't believe Han Fei's nonsense. How could he let others sleep soundly next to him? If the real ominous was sent away, it would be an endless war between him and Han Fei. And Han Fei controlled the demon purification pot and was almost invincible against him. At that time, there would only be an endless stalemate. Hongjuan's ominous body's eyes were sharp. Without the protection of the creation jade plate, aren't you afraid of leading the myriad races to Destruction? Han Fei sneered. Anyway, staying here is also death. What's the difference between death and walking the path of no return? Besides, for us, we've already done our best. However, if the myriad races dare to die, do you? Hong Juan's ominous body snorted and didn't speak again, as if he was thinking about something. Indeed, Han Fei's threat did touch him. Although he knew that Han Fei would probably not take away the myriad races in the sea realm, it was not impossible for him to be forced to a dead end. Although he didn't know where the path of no return led to, this might indeed be a way out. If Han Fei was really forced to this point, as Han Fei said, once the myriad races left, he would definitely die. Even if he returned to the primordial star sea, that person would eventually find and devour him. It was not unacceptable for Han Fei to weaken the power in the hands of the real ominous. However, giving Han Fei a chance was no different from asking a tiger for its skin, so he fell into a short hesitation. In the end, Hong Juan's ominous body said coldly, 3 years. How many you can kill in 3 years depends on your own ability. In addition, I will watch you in the dark. Han Fei was overjoyed to hear that, but on the surface, he rolled his eyes. 3 years? All the strong masters of the myriad races have been fighting that person for billions of years, but they were still beaten to this state. You only give me 3 years? However, this time, Hong Jun didn't allow him to retort. Do you really think I don't know? With your current strength, I don't want to give it to you for 3 years. If you don't accept this, you will face the wrath of the two. Ominous. 3 years it is. Retreat. Humph. Seeing Hong Juan's ominous body disappear, Han Fei was secretly relieved. Although 3 years was very short, it was still a long time compared to 3 days. Otherwise, if these two joined forces to attack the sea realm, even with the protection of the 4 divine realms, it was hard to say if they could last 3 days. After all, these were 2 ominous level powerhouses and 6 peak level dominators. Could the divine domains left behind by Li Daoi withstand an attack of this level? Anyway, Han Fei wasn't confident. Of course, Hong Juan's ominous body gave him 3 years because he wanted to take advantage of the situation and use him to consume some of the real ominous power. That was all. Han Fei didn't believe that he would really sit by. He just didn't know what methods he would prepare next. However, at least the current crisis was resolved. Pa. Pa. In the next moment, the divine vine shot out like a whip again. Bang. 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 After a while, with the help of the Black Dragon Dominator and the others, except for the 5 or 6 Dominator-level ominous creatures that escaped. Because of the appearance of Hong Juan's ominous body, the others all died. Swish. 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 Little junior brother. Fei Fei. Son. Dad. Everyone rushed forward, and 5th senior brother spoke first, little junior brother, where were you taken by the ominous? What have you experienced in the past 8,000 years? How did you appear in such a way? Xia Xiaochan asked, are you okay? Why did you become a gourd? Shiman Linglan said, I know. You will definitely come back. Dad. Han Chani, who was only a great monarch, came relatively slowly. As she rushed over, the green vine that could kill the ominous with a whip appeared under her feet. Immediately, Han Chani stood on the green vine. In the next second, she stood on the gourd. Dad, are you in the gourd? In the next moment, Han Fei's voice came from the gourd. Dad, is this gourd? Now. Ah? Not only Han Chani, but Xia Xiaochan and the others were also stunned. Lei Heng said, haha. Little junior brother, have you become a demon plant? Now? Lei Heng still wanted to tease him, but senior brother Azure Dragon shouted in a low voice, alright, now is not the time to chat. Little junior brother. Senior sister Shenlu and the others are in trouble too. Since you are so strong, you have to help them quickly. Han Fei replied, okay. Senior brother Azure Dragon, before we come back, don't let anyone leave the sea realm. This is no longer a war below the Dominator level. As for where I have been for the past 8,000 years, you can ask my avatars. After that, Han Fei said, girl, Linglan, I'll go help senior sister Shenlu first. Don't worry. I've reached the peak of the Dominator realm. This time, no one will be able to take me away. A peak-level Dominator? Everyone was horrified. Only when they reached the Dominator realm did they know how difficult it was to take a step higher in this realm. And only eldest senior brother and Shenlu had reached the peak of the Dominator realm before. This made them feel relieved. The Black Dragon Dominator asked, was the deer rider just now at the ominous level? Han Fei knew of the Black Dragon Dominator's worry. He said, yes, but he won't take action for the time being. Although Han Fei said that the Hongjun ominous body wouldn't take action for the time being, everyone was still worried. And Han Fei didn't dare to believe the promise of the Hongjun ominous body, so he had to act quickly. Han Chani asked, how long will you be gone this time? Han Fei said, I'll be back in a few days. Han Chani was relieved to hear that it would be a few days instead of a few years, but she was still a little worried about Han Fei's guarantee. However, old Han said, let's just wait for your father to return. Jiang Linxian said, fair, be careful. Xia Xiaochan said, be careful. You have to keep your word this time. Han Fei said, definitely. By the way, why don't I see Little White? Yes, Han Fei saw everyone except Luo Xiaobai, which gave him a bad feeling. This time, it was fifth senior brother who said, don't worry. That girl didn't die. However, her path is too similar to Li Daoi's. At this moment, she is staying on the world tree to comprehend. Huh? The calabash trembled slightly. Luo Xiaobai and Li Daoi? On second thought, Han Fei realized that it did make sense. Li Daoi and Luo Xiaobai were both born from the human race and demon plants. The difference was that Li Daoi was born in the chaotic era and was born with extraordinary talent. As for Luo Xiaobai, she was born in the Yin-Yang world, which was only a small world and extremely lacked all kinds of resources. Even though she came to the sea realm later, how could the current sea realm be compared to the former chaotic era? Therefore, Luo Xiaobai's growth was not stunning. At this moment, when he heard that Luo Xiaobai had embarked on Li Daoi's path, Han Fei couldn't help but understand what she meant. However, Luo Xiaobai had lost her innate opportunity and didn't embark on the path of invincibility. Therefore, she probably only embarked on Li Daoi's path in one aspect. She stayed in the world tree because she wanted to directly break through to the sea-quelling god. However, since Luo Xiaobai was fine, Han Fei didn't stay any longer. With a swish, he disappeared from the 49 star rivers. At the moment Han Fei left, Hongjuan's ominous body looked into the distance, his eyes revealing a trace of ruthlessness. He murmured, Han Fei, you should have opened the passage between the two worlds. Deep space. Senior sister Shenlu, the death god, the master of time, and senior brother undead were fighting. But when Han Fei arrived, he only saw the master of time and senior brother undead. He happened to see the body of the master of time annihilated. In the next moment, he saw the time tide caused by the time indestructibility technique, and the master of time recovered again. Furthermore, as soon as he appeared, he was slapped away, and half of his body turned into the time river. Fortunately, the recovery ability of time was too strong, and the time sky sealing lock could barely lock the ominous at the peak of the Dominator realm. However, the time sky sealing lock was full of cracks. In Han Fei's opinion, it probably wouldn't last long. At this moment, Han Fei knew that the Master of Time was no match for the ominous at all. If he hadn't mastered the time indestructible technique, he probably wouldn't have been able to hold on until now. As for senior brother undead, he was standing on the boundless black coffin. Yes, he had completely refined the black coffin. At this moment, there was a Dominator level ominous suppressed in the coffin, and the Dominator level ominous was melting at a visible speed, turning into ominous liquid. Han Fei could also tell that senior brother undead seemed to have become much stronger. This must be the opportunity in the black coffin that eldest senior brother mentioned. Because he was in charge of the black coffin, although there were nearly 50 Dominator-level ominous creatures around senior brother undead, he could still barely hold on. However, Han Fei saw that senior brother undead's huge body had collapsed in many places. His bones were incomplete, and even his head had been separated and was fighting independently. At this moment, Han Fei had no time to find senior sister Shenlu and the death god. If he could kill the ominous that besieged the master of time and senior brother undead, it would be a huge victory. The master of time and senior brother undead naturally noticed the sudden appearance of the purple gold calabash. Just a moment ago, they were a little puzzled. But in the next moment, the divine vine slashed out with a swish, producing an extremely dazzling knife light. The knife light contained the supreme will, the invincible will, the Tao of slaughter god, the light of purification, the law of life. The peak-level Dominator-level ominous creature that was hammering senior brother undead's skull was already on guard the moment Han Fei appeared, but in fact, it didn't pay much attention to him, because it only regarded Han Fei as a supreme nature treasure-level treasure. However, when the knife light slashed down, he knew that this power was extraordinary. He decisively gave up on senior brother undead's head and faced it with billowing mist. Puff. In an instant, knife light bloomed, covering billions of kilometers of star rivers. In the same realm, facing a strong master like Han Fei who specialized in killing, even an ominous god at the peak of the Dominator level would be cut in half in an instant, and half of the ominous mist was dispersed. Under this slash, the peak-level Dominator-level ominous instantly retreated in fright and shouted, "Impossible, how can you come back so quickly?" Senior brother undead couldn't help but look sideways. His voice was low, but there was a rare trace of joy. "Little junior brother?" "Senior brother, it's me. Let me help you." The moment the peak-level Dominator-level ominous creature retreated, the knife light didn't stop and crushed a Dominator-level ominous. Pa! Pa! The divine vine whipped the void like a whip, shattering 2 Dominator-level ominous creatures in a row. This scene shocked the master of time. He roared, "Han Fei, shouldn't you help me first? I can't hold on much." Longer. What's the rush? Wait. The Master of Time. The Master of Time had been beaten up countless times. Perhaps he had never thought that he, who was high and mighty, would be beaten so badly by the ominous. Han Fei knew that the situation on the Master of Time's side was more urgent. But so what? His arrival had given this old thing hope. He would hold on until the moment he helped him no matter what. Of course, Han Fei didn't intend to delay for too long. 9 identical purple gold calabashes appeared in the void. There was no ominous level existence here. A peak level dominator level. Ominous couldn't cut off the time river and make Han Fei's old body pay the price, so he used the time division technique without hiding anything. However, except for the fact that Han Fei's original body had a divine vine. The other old bodies were just calabashes. Obviously, the divine vine was of an extraordinary level, and it was impossible for more than one divine vine appear at the same time. However, even the calabash itself was enough. Different from the Master of Time, the Master of Time was born in time. His combat power was mediocre, but his comprehension of the law of time was unparalleled. But Han Fei, as a body cultivator, a peak-level dominator who had fought his way up from the Fisher realm, was not something the Master of Time could compare to in terms of strength, means, physique, killing techniques, and even realm. Therefore, Han Fei, who had mastered the time division technique, could summon 9 peak-level dominators at any time. This was why Han Fei dared to return to the chaotic sea of stars to fight the ominous. Of course, in the face of the real ominous level, he could only use the time splitting technique as a last resort. Otherwise, if anything went wrong, it would be almost irreversible. However, these enemies were not enough to scare Han Fei. Seeing this, the ominous creatures at the peak of the dominator level knew that something was wrong. They knew their own strength. They dared to challenge Shen Lu and the Master of Time and the Death God, but at this moment, Han Fei was like the former void, invincible unless he was at the ominous level. In their eyes, he was no longer an ordinary peak level dominator. The peak level dominator roared, "Everyone, stop dealing with the undead. Attack with all your strength and stop Han Fei." Han Fei clearly felt the unwillingness of these 50 ominous creatures, but there seemed to be nothing he could do. They really pounced at him overwhelmingly. Han Fei couldn't help but wonder. He could see the unwillingness in the eyes of these ominous creatures, but they seemed to have to take action. Could it be that these dominator-level ominous creatures weren't driven voluntarily? Han Fei seemed to understand something. It was the ominous matter. These dominator-level ominous creatures became stronger because of the ominous matter, but they were mostly restrained by the ominous matter. Therefore, the moment they received the order, they had to stop Han Fei even if they had to die. And the peak-level dominator-level ominous knew that it was no match for Han Fei, so it quickly fled. However, at this moment, Han Fei had 9 clones, and the other party only had more than 50 dominator-level ominous creatures. How could he escape? Han Fei sneered. Don't forget, this is the chaotic sea of stars, the territory of the myriad races. The heavenly Tao here hasn't been controlled by you yet. Buzz. After the peak-level dominator-level ominous escaped 10 star rivers, he found that he couldn't teleport at all. Besides, Han Fei's original body had already stood in front of him. On the other side, a group of dominator-level ominous creatures were all emitting ominous mist. All kinds of great chaos covered the sky. A Dominator-level ominous creature seemed to want to use the ability of its avatar to transform into millions of lightning strikes, trying to buy time. However, only one of Han Fei's old bodies took action. The calabash smashed at the void, and lightning shook and spread out. For a moment, countless lightning bolts covered this place, which were extremely intense. The lightning was dense, and the thunder rumbled. The vast sea of stars trembled non-stop, and the void kept cracking. Puff. 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 In just an instant, the tens of millions of phantoms instantly disappeared. As for the Dominator-level ominous, it was pierced by a lightning spear. The light of purification burned its body, and the law of life severed its life. It died on the spot before it could even attack. At the same time, a Dominator-level ominous turned the ominous mist into a demonic claw that blotted out the sky. It also used the Godfiend sound-killing technique and shattered half of its original body to launch a powerful blow. For a moment, the battle was fierce, and all kinds of methods were used. Countless Dominator-level ominous figures were entangled with the purple gold calabash, and many of them even took out their remaining ominous matter, trying to corrode Han Fei. However, all of this was in vain. Han Fei's calabash body emitted a holy light of purification. The surrounding space distorted and collapsed, turning into his power and means. Endless runes appeared on the surface of the calabash, and billions of knife lights left his body. The scene was too terrifying. In just a few seconds, 7 or 8 Dominator-level ominous creatures were killed on the spot. Senior Brother Undead had just recovered his complete body. Seeing this scene, he couldn't help but secretly exclaim. Now his little junior brother had so many killing methods that were comparable to Xun Li's. Besides, his little junior brother's killing technique was ferocious, domineering, and extremely efficient. More importantly, in addition to the light of purification, little junior brother's calabash body was also bathed in golden divine brilliance. It was the power of the world triggered by the invincible will. The Master of Time looked from a distance and naturally saw this scene. He couldn't help but feel a little jealous. Perhaps, with gains, there would be losses. It was most appropriate to use it on the Master of Time. However, what he was jealous of was why Han Fei could do anything. Not only did he have a terrifying physique, but he also had the supreme will and the path of invincibility. He could even control time and win the favor of countless treasures. The battle was still ongoing. Although Han Fei was in the form of a calabash, he had used all his abilities. Seeing that he really couldn't escape, the peak-level Dominator-level ominous creature that fled but was stopped by Han Fei shouted, "Han Fei, you forced me to do this. If you want to die, let's die together. In the end, you haven't reached the Dominator level, so you must have a weakness." The peak-level Dominator-level ominous was slapped in the chest by Han Fei as it spoke. The ominous aura exploded there, and some ominous matter fell and was absorbed by the demon purification pot. And the peak-level Dominator level ominous had already distanced itself from Han Fei. In the end, it didn't dare to get too close to the demon purification pot. After pulling away, an altar appeared under him. From the body of the peak level Dominator level ominous, endless Tao pattern runes surged out. This seemed to be some kind of intrinsic technique of his. It seemed that this peak level Dominator level ominous wasn't born out of nowhere, but was once a strong master or had swallowed a certain strong master with extraordinary means. As soon as the altar appeared, it blocked Han Fei's thousands of collisions in a row. Although it was full of cracks, it didn't completely shatter. Inside the altar, the Dominator-level ominous actually produced a huge ominous Dharma idol. The surrounding black light flashed, and the entire altar began to turn into greenish-black smoke. Living sacrifice, life-stealing divine spell. Han Fei retreated light years away, his eyes shining with golden light, and the surrounding green smoke, like maggots, tried to brand on the calabash in the form of Tao patterns. Because this green-black smoke was mostly composed of runes, even the demon purification pot couldn't damage it much. This was a typical way of fighting where you harmed the enemy by 1,000. But also suffered a loss of 800 yourself. This guy used his own body as a living sacrifice and tried to brand a curse mark on Han Fei. Han Fei wanted to dodge, but the green-black smoke seemed to have corrosive power and spread infinitely far. If he kept dodging, he would only let the guy escape with his broken body. Humph. Han Fei shouted, I guess you were a genius in the past. However, as a Supreme, how can these mere runes shake me? Buzz. In the next moment, Han Fei's purple-gold calabash body expanded crazily. His huge body seemed to transform into a world, like a huge star. From Han Fei's calabash body, infinite light burst out at the same time. The power of the starry river around him unleashed all kinds of techniques, which were extremely majestic. The momentum of the world turned into ripples that filled the sky as if they had the power to destroy everything. As this light bloomed, in these star rivers, the endless ominous mist was purified and burned. The rune mark was dispersed by the power of the world in one fell swoop. On Han Fei's calabash vine, the power of the world gathered, glowing and condensing, making the divine vine straighten and bloom with divine light. It was peerlessly dazzling and finally turned into the embryonic form of a knife. Then, Han Fei waved the divine vine, and the sound of laws rumbled. This broadsword of the heavens and earth emitted bursts of brilliance. Indestructible and indestructible. The entangled runes were easily broken. Kill. This blow was too terrifying. The peak-level Dominator-level ominous was even shocked. They were both peak-level Dominators. How could there be such a gap? Han Fei roared and a creation mystic yellow tower rose from the distant sky, enveloping him. The primordial 8 ominous swords stood in all directions, wrapped in the invincible will. With a clang, they shattered the void. With a thought from Han Fei, the 10 vines of the demon purification pot between his eyebrows shot out at the same time, penetrating the ominous mist. The vines flickered as if they were breathing. The demon purification pot could seal the real ominous. How could it not seal this mere peak level Dominator-level ominous creature? At this moment, dozens of star rivers away, senior sister Shenlu was like a flowing fire, smashed down by some extraordinary power. Han Fei knew that the real ominous level must have sensed the situation here and rushed over. However, Han Fei put on a cold smile. A blood-colored feather flew out of his body, crossed the river of stars in an instant, and burned the world. It was senior sister Shenli's life feather. When he fell into the primordial star sea, although it had bloomed, the time it bloomed was too short. Now, it had returned to its rightful owner and burned the world. It would definitely increase senior sister Shenli's strength slightly. Sure enough, in the sea of fire, senior sister Shenlu grabbed the life feather, turned it into a knife, and slashed at the surging ominous tide with all her strength. Rumble. As the two sides fought, the world collapsed, and an endless void storm cut off the star rivers. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Han Fei guessed that the ominous matter might have just been absorbed by the demon purification pot and sealed. As for how to obliterate it, he didn't know, but he couldn't care less for the time being. On the other side, his old bodies and senior brother undead had already killed all the other Dominator-level ominous creatures. The main reason was that Han Fei had too many old bodies, which were equivalent to 9 peak-level Dominators. How could ordinary Dominator-level ominous creatures withstand them? 1 peak-level Dominator-level ominous had restrained most of the Dominator-level powerhouses of the myriad races. Han Fei's old bodies could only be stronger than him. These Dominator-level ominous didn't even have a chance to restrain Han Fei's old bodies and could only die. Human Emperor, you will pay the price. I will turn all living beings of the myriad races into my nutrients. Faced with the threat from far away, Han Fei sneered. You can't do anything to me in the primordial star sea. Do you think I'm afraid of you here? As he spoke, Han Fei, his old bodies, and senior brother undead had already plunged into the dilapidated time-sealing sky lock of the Master of Time. Bang! 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 With an abnormally strong peak-level Dominator-level powerhouse like Han Fei taking action, the more than 20 Dominator-level ominous creatures and 1 peak-level Dominator-level ominous in the time-sealing sky lock were on guard. The Master of Time shouted, there are still some in the time predicament. I'll release them. However, Han Fei said, don't. I'll go in. In the next moment, Han Fei's 5 old bodies disappeared from the time sealing sky lock. At the same time, Han Fei attacked with all his strength. This was because countless cracks had already appeared in the boundless sea of fire. The real ominous was determined to come to help. If it refused to fight Senior Sister Shenlu fiercely, it couldn't last long. As soon as Han Fei, his old bodies, and senior brother undead killed the 12th Dominator-level ominous, Senior Sister Shenlu retreated again. And this time, Senior Sister Shenlu was surrounded by a large area of ominous matter. Obviously, the real ominous had paid a lot of ominous matter. He knew that he couldn't let Han Fei continue to fight like this. Han Fei's strength was already comparable to the void. Unless he was at the ominous level, it was almost impossible to suppress him. Han Fei could see that in the world where Senior Sister Shenlu was, the 3,000 heavenly Daos were trying to stop the real ominous for a moment. Unfortunately, this ominous was a powerhouse above the Dominator realm after all. In just 1 second, it pierced through that world. Pfft! Shenlu vomited blood. She could no longer withstand the corrosion of the ominous matter. The power of the heavenly Tao returned and tried its best to wear down the ominous matter. Han Fei sighed in his heart. In the end, it didn't work. The ominous reinforcements came too quickly. When the other party arrived with a thought, the time sky sealing lock was shattered. Senior brother undead shouted in a low voice, little junior brother, keep killing. With that, senior brother undead disintegrated and his body turned into 6 parts. His head, body, and limbs were separated, and he charged at the real ominous at the same time. F*CK off. However, just as the ominous was about to go further, he found that 6 skeleton hands grabbed him in the void and suddenly pulled him into the huge black coffin. 3 consecutive ominous tides bloomed from the black coffin. In the next moment, ominous hands grabbed the sides of the black coffin, trying to forcibly walk out. However, how could Senior Brother Undead, who had just been sent flying, let him do as he pleased? He grabbed the coffin lid with both arms and smashed it down, and great Tao runes burst out of the 6 parts of his body. Yes, Senior Brother Undead used himself as a seal to forcibly lock down the ominous boom. In the black coffin, a huge force came out, and ripples spread in all directions. The 6 parts of Senior Brother Undead's body almost bounced up. Senior Brother Undead shouted, "Little Junior Brother, kill the enemy quickly. I can't hold on for long." Bang! 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 Han Fei gritted his teeth. At this moment, he had no time to speak. His original body blocked the peak-level Dominator-level Ominous, and his old bodies were killing crazily. The Master of Time was a little horrified. In the dilemma of time, Han Fei had already killed more than half of the Ominous. In the time-sealing Skylock, there were only 6 Dominator-level Ominous creatures and 1 peak-level Dominator-level Ominous creature left. He didn't dare to imagine how this battle would have been fought if Han Fei hadn't appeared. Knock, knock, knock. As the continuous rumbling and shaking came from the black coffin, after the black coffin shook more than 30 times in a row, with a crack appeared on the coffin lid. At this moment, there was only the ominous creature at the peak of the Dominator level left. However, at this moment, this ominous creature was besieged by 9 Han Fei and forcibly cut through the river of life. The demon purification pot had already pierced through it. Bang! As if unable to hold back his anger anymore, a large amount of ominous matter spread out of the crack of the black coffin. Immediately afterward, the coffin lid exploded with a bang, leaving only half of it. 5 of the 6 parts of Senior Brother Undead's body were wrapped in ominous matter and exploded. Another head reacted quickly and retreated to Han Fei. Han Fei said casually, "Sorry, you came out late." Of the 4 peak-level Dominator-level subordinates of the real Ominous, 3 had already died, and the other should still be fighting the Death God. After Han Fei returned this time, it could be said that he was on a killing spree. If it weren't for Hongjuan's ominous body, he was confident that he could counterattack. The Ominous said coldly, "Just a peak-level Dominator. Do you think I can't create another one?" The Ominous was really a little angry. He never expected Han Fei to come back so quickly and even become a calabash. At this moment, Han Fei's tone was equally cold. "Who are you King kidding? If you make one, I'll kill one. If you make a pair, I'll kill a pair. I'll see if your ominous matter is endless, and by the way, I'll see if you're so good at making." At this moment, Han Fei's old bodies had dissipated. Faced with the real Ominous, he didn't dare to be as negligent as he said. Only after fighting the Ominous would he know that it was extremely difficult to fight it even just for a day. If he was accidentally tricked, there wouldn't have been anything he could do. Senior Sister Shenlu was the example in front of him, although the moment Han Fei was taken into the primordial sea, he didn't see her strength, because she had just made a breakthrough. However, at the opening of the Sea of Stars in the primordial star sea, he had fought the Ominous with the strength of a peak-level Dominator. Therefore, he knew very well how difficult it was for Senior Sister Shenlu to hold on for 5 days. At this moment, Senior Sister Shenlu was resisting the corrosion of the ominous matter. It could be said that the Master of Time and Senior Brother Undead were seriously injured. Even if they weren't seriously injured, the two of them were no match for the ominous. Only Han Fei could still fight him. But Han Fei knew that the ominous should still have a trump card, which was related to the ominous matter. When the ominous descended in the chaotic star sea through the passage that day, it took away a large amount of ominous matter. The amount of ominous matter should not only help these dominator level ominous creatures increase their strength, but might also have other uses, but Han Fei didn't know now. The ominous was also thinking at this moment. If he couldn't continue to suppress Shenlu, it was only a matter of time before she escaped. And Han Fei was obviously another Shenlu. No, Han Fei, who had mastered the law of life and the demon purification pot, was stronger than Shenlu. In terms of killing speed, he was even stronger than Void. This was because although Void could refine the ominous matter, it would take time. But for Han Fei, he didn't need to refine the ominous matter at all. He could just absorb it. Just as the ominous was hesitating, suddenly, a voice sounded leisurely in everyone's ears. It seems that I really can't give you 3 years. In your state, even I think something will happen if I give you 3 days, let alone 3 years. What are you doing here? Han Fei frowned. Of course, he wouldn't really think that Hongjuan's ominous body would give him 3 years. All he wanted was to temporarily hold the other party back. But how long had it been? It had only been a moment, but this guy had returned? Hongjuan's ominous body chuckled. Why do you think I'm here? Seeing this, Han Fei immediately said, Senior brothers, guard senior sister. Shenlu. Senior brother undead didn't speak. He didn't ask who the comer was, but carried the damaged black coffin and went to senior sister Shenlu. The master of time looked solemn as if he had guessed something. He took a deep look at Han Fei and retreated to Shenli's side too. As for the ominous and Hongjuan's ominous body, they ignored the two of them. For them, the strong masters of the myriad races who hadn't advanced to the peak of the Dominator realm weren't enough to be a threat. The real ominous suddenly said, Hongjun, did you deliberately let him back? Hongjuan's ominous body chuckled. If I deliberately let him back, why would I interfere in your war? Do you think I'll believe you? The ominous was not stupid. Hongjuan's ominous body used Han Fei to force him to leave the primordial star sea. However, he also knew that he controlled a lot of ominous matter and had too strong a military force, so it was completely possible for him to release Han Fei and restrain him so that he could focus on conquering the Guardian Divine Realm. Once the opening in the Sea of Stars was gone, Hongjuan's ominous body only needed to seize the Guardian Divine Realm to become the first winner, or perhaps the only winner. Although Hongjuan's ominous body did think so, he didn't expect Han Fei to rather face 2 ominous-level ominous creatures, multiple peak-level Dominator-level ominous creatures, and hundreds of Dominator-level ominous creatures then open the passage between the 2 worlds. In his opinion, this was simply courting death. But now that everything had happened, the plan had been messed up, and Hongjuan's ominous body could only adapt to the situation and take out a backup plan. He said, Ominous, it's time for the 2 of us to join forces. Why don't we cooperate again? Although the ominous was unwilling, once Hongjuan's ominous body didn't interfere and Han Fei was here, it wouldn't be easy for him to conquer the sea realm. How can we cooperate? Hongjuan's ominous body smiled faintly. We've been wary of each other for too long. Why don't we advance at the same time? Upgrade at the same time? Han Fei's heart was full of doubts. One couldn't open the path of no return. And the other's combat power wasn't enough to suppress him and senior sister Shen Lu, and they couldn't work together to conquer a sea of stars first. So, how could they advance at the same time? Hong Juan's ominous body said, "It's not too much for me to take half of your ominous matter, right? After all, my sacrifice is huge." Okay. The ominous reaction was extremely decisive, as if he knew that this was already the ultimate battle. Although the result might not be as perfect as he thought, he had to make a choice. Compared to continuing to fight the myriad races, he would rather level up together with Hongjuan's ominous body. Hongjuan's ominous body continued, "Also, give me half of that thing." The ominous suddenly looked at Hongjuan's ominous body. "Your appetite is too big." Hongjuan's ominous body chuckled and his lips curled into a sinister smile. "Without that thing, what's the use of me taking the ominous substance?" This time, the ominous expression was a little ugly, but after thinking for less than a second, he said, "Okay." Seeing that the two ominous creatures had reached an agreement, Han Fei's heart sank. Although he didn't know how the other party would advance together, or what the thing they were talking about was, it was obvious that if Hongjuan's ominous body wanted to devour the guardian divine realm, opening the passage between the two worlds was not the only way. Buzz. At this moment, Han Fei saw a large amount of ominous substances emerging from the ominous body, and Hongjuan's ominous body was also receiving the ominous matter in front of Han Fei. Humph. Dividing the chaotic star sea and the primordial star sea in front of me? Do you think I don't exist? Han Fei suddenly attacked. The 10 vines of the demon purification pot danced wildly and immediately rushed at the two of them. It wasn't that Han Fei wanted to attack, but he had no choice. He didn't know what the two of them were planning, but they clearly understood each other's meaning. However, in the face of the two ominous level powerhouses, the two of them each summoned an ominous mist. Like two dark seas, they turned into a huge wave of stars and sent Han Fei flying. Hongjuan's ominous body said, "Don't waste your effort. You can only restrain one of us. If you want to restrain both of us at the same time, not to mention that you have the demon purification pot, even if you have the creation jade plate, it won't be enough." With that, Hongjun looked at the ominous. "Where is that thing?" The ominous said coldly, "I'll give it to you the moment this plan succeeds." Han Fei still wanted to attack again, only to see that the two of them had completed the preliminary deal and the ominous matter had been given out. Swish. 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 Before Han Fei had the time to curse, at this moment, 3 peak level Dominator-level ominous creatures appeared in the void in a row. At the same time, nearly 50 peak-level Dominator-level ominous creatures blocked Han Fei's way. No, 4. At that moment, Han Fei saw the Death God fighting another ominous creature at the peak of the Dominator realm. Han Fei's face changed slightly. Something was wrong. Why were all the strong masters of the sea realm here? He roared, "Death God, retreat. Don't come over." Bang! As soon as Han Fei said so, the Death God moved horizontally with a thought. He didn't have time to react. Although he didn't know what the reminder meant. The calabash was clearly on the myriad race's side. However, the peak-level Dominator-level ominous fighting the Death God plunged into this star river. At the moment Han Fei shouted, Hongjuan's ominous body suddenly looked at Han Fei and grinned. Collapse. Boom. Boom. The entire sea of stars, including senior sister Shenlu and the others, began to collapse. Han Fei's first reaction was to teleport out of here. However, he discovered that this star river was no longer affected by the origin power of the star river. At the same time, the heavenly Tao of this star river collapsed and completely turned into an independent star river, as if it had been sealed with a barrier. Han Fei suddenly looked at Hongjuan's ominous body. So, you have been setting up something on the star river since just now? Hongjun smiled. Otherwise, do you really think I'll give you 3 years if I compromise with you? Buzz. The star river collapsed into the endless void, and billions of stars disappeared without a trace. The death god was horrified. Fortunately, he stopped in time. Otherwise, he would have collapsed with the star river. However, where did they go? Rumble. This was the first time Han Fei had seen an entire star river collapse. However, the moment they fell into the endless void, Han Fei discovered that this was not a void turbulence, but a directional void channel wrapped in ominous mist. Feeling that this passage was filled with star river origin power, Han Fei suddenly realized that this was clearly a star river origin power space, condensed from countless black holes. It was the fastest shortcut for dominators to quickly travel in all directions of the chaotic star sea. Where is Hongjuan's ominous body going to take me, senior sister Shenlu, and the others? Han Fei was puzzled. He had thought that this collapsed star river would eventually be trapped in the endless ominous mist, and the ominous and Hongjuan's ominous body would besiege him in the boundless ominous mist. If that was all, Han Fei was confident that he could still leave. However, the other party was clearly using the heavenly Tao they had already controlled to forcibly teleport the Sea of Stars. However, why did they teleport the Star River? How could it be possible to seal and suppress Han Fei and senior sister Shenlu in the chaotic Star Sea? But in the next moment, when this star river reappeared in the Sea of Stars, the first thing Han Fei saw was the path of no return. Yes, when he saw the path of no return, Han Fei couldn't help but be shocked. He immediately understood the other party's purpose. These two guys wanted to exile him, senior sister Shenlu, and the others, to the path of no return. No one could return from the path of no return. This was a law that no one could break in the chaotic star sea for several eras. Once he and senior sister Shenlu fell into this path of no return, the destruction of the sea realm would be inevitable. At this moment, Han Fei's mind became clear. Why did the other party want to gather the strong masters of the sea realm together? Why did these two ominous level powerhouses personally take action with 4 peak level dominator level ominous creatures and more than 50 dominator level ominous creatures? Hongjuan's ominous body had already thought of a countermeasure. The other party was clearly trying to send them into the path of no return. It had always been the strong masters of the myriad races who led the ominous creatures to the path of no return. But why couldn't it be the ominous creatures who led the strong masters of the myriad races to the path of no return? Not only Han Fei, but senior brother Undead and the Master of Time also realized this. At this moment, senior brother Undead was helping senior sister Shenlu absorb the ominous matter with the black coffin. Although senior sister Shenlu didn't speak and was still resisting, she clearly realized what had happened. She was also using all her strength, trying to break through the seal of the ominous matter. Han Fei knew that in the battle among the strong, victory or defeat lay in the seconds. Senior Sister Shenlo might be able to break through the ominous matter soon, but they would be sent to the path of no return even sooner. He immediately understood that he couldn't just sit idle. Han Fei roared, and the 9 time rivers lined up. At this moment, he couldn't have too many scruples. He couldn't resist the 2 ominous level and 4 peak level dominators alone. He had to use the time division technique. However, as soon as the 9 time rivers appeared, Hongjuan's ominous body snorted coldly. I know you have many means, but it's too late to use this technique now. Hongjun and the ominous both triggered the laws in the ominous mist at the same time and messed up the great Tao laws here. The law of time was one of the many laws after all. How could the law of time not be messed up? Immediately, the 9 time rivers behind Han Fei collapsed at the same time. In the end, he couldn't use the time division technique. Han Fei wasn't surprised about this. After all, these 2 were ominous level. Even without them, even if he faced the 4 peak level dominators alone, it would be difficult for him to use the time division technique. This was because he needed his original body to suppress the other party and not give the other party a chance to shake the law and the time river before he could complete the time division technique. As for peak level dominators, they were actually in the same realm as him. As long as one of them couldn't be suppressed, the other party could interrupt the time-splitting technique in the same way. At this moment, Han Fei couldn't help but think of the Taoless realm above the Dominator realm. If he could reach that realm, he could give birth to his own great Tao and condense a law. That way, he wouldn't be restrained by this. Taking advantage of the moment when the 2 ominous-level ominous creatures attacked at the same time, Han Fei took the opportunity to try to kill the way to Senior Sister Shenli's side. However, the 4 peak-level dominators wouldn't give him a chance to approach Senior Sister Shenlu. However, Han Fei had to rush over and help Senior Sister Shenlu get out of this predicament before he had a chance. Holding the demon purification pot, Han Fei bathed in the divine light of purification in his invincible body and rammed at it. However, this time, one of the 4 peak-level dominator ominous creatures actually approached the demon purification pot head-on. This scene stunned Han Fei, and then his heart turned cold. Under normal circumstances, a peak-level dominator-level ominous creature couldn't resist the demon purification pot at all. It would only take 10 seconds for the 10-vine demon purification pot to absorb a peak-level dominator-level ominous creature. This was a fundamental suppression. Therefore, under normal circumstances, no peak-level dominator-level ominous creature would be stupid enough to fight Han Fei in close combat. However, at this moment, 10 seconds was extremely important. The other party was clearly prepared to sacrifice themselves to hold back the demon purification pot and by more than 10 seconds for the ominous and Hongjuan's ominous bodies.